everybody, welcome to the shop. We are back. Woo! Okay, calm down. Calm down. We skipped one episode last week. You know why we skipped one episode last week. We are going to talk about that. But first, look at the background. What do you think we're going to talk about tonight? Yes, it's Miz Cracker and her delusion of manipulating the edit. This is not supposed to be offensive, mind you. This is all about the joke. It's all good-hearted. It's all about the editing. It's all about the show. So, don't be a bitch. Okay? Don't be a bitch to this woman. I'm not telling to you guys in the chat. I know you for months. I know that you are good people. I'm telling for the people who are going to watch this once we are done streaming. So, keep that in mind, okay? Don't be a douche. If you have nothing good to say, don't contact queens. Now, with that said, Drag Race is a game. And if you want to win the game, you have to know how to play the game. And what does it mean to play the game? Well, you kind of have to want the editors to keep you inside the show, you know? So you have to be a little bit shady, but not too much. You have to be real, but not too real, because if you start becoming too real, maybe you will get a villain edit. And then you have to be likable, but you also have to be vulnerable. And don't forget, absolutely don't forget, you need to showcase your talent. And all of that is valid if, and only if, the editors decide to keep you in. If you have a good storyline. So some queens will be able to do the best they can to keep playing the game, to reach the final episodes, to maybe even win. But that all depends on how much they are able to get into the editor's head. And most of all, into the producer's head. Because they are the one pulling the strings behind the scenes. And what are the rewards, you think? Well, the rewards are very simple. It's money. How much do you get paid for a gig and becoming a finalist on Drag Race? Well, it's rumors, and you know, every time you contact a performer, they can make a custom price. So we're talking really averages. So a top 3, how much for a gig? Well, it's anywhere between 10,000 and 15,000 per gig. So count about 2-3 gigs a week. You know, many queens work more than that, but let's go with 2 or 3. Multiply that for 4 weeks in a month and multiply that for 12 months. No, let's do 11 months, okay? Let's say you take a month off. How much is that? It's almost 2 million. So you understand, you need to know how to play the game because the game is rewarding. And this gal right there, she knows how to play the game and she knows how to play it very well. And of course, we are going to expose how she does that because it's interesting. So now that we introduced what will be the topic for tonight's stream, let's talk a minute why we disappeared last week. Now, as you know, this video went down. We tried to fight to keep it on, and YouTube showed us the middle finger and said, you know what, now, this video is going down. This video is not coming back up. So we have a strike on the channel, which means that if we get 2 more, we will lose the channel. But that's not the worst of it. The worst of it is that they might kick us out of the partner program, which means that we don't earn anything. It's not like we earn a lot. I'll be very clear. We earn about $3 to $4 after taxes every day from the channel. So we are not even getting rich with it. But that's not really the point because the partner program allows you to contact the support for YouTube. So you can actually talk to someone. And more than that, if you are in the partner program, YouTube is more likely to suggest your videos. So your videos gets more visibility. And that's what really interests me with the channel. Because when I spend 100, 200, 300 hours to make a video, the last thing that I want is to think that it's a great video and nobody watched it. Absolutely nobody watched it because YouTube didn't suggest it. And at the moment, this copyright strike has basically sandboxed the channel, which means that videos are not suggested. Our views went down something like 80–85%. Subscribers went down like 90%. We are basically earning nothing from the channel. It's basically when the channel is sandboxed. You know, if I set a message in the community tab, nobody sees it. nobody receives the notification. That's the meaning of sandboxing. It's not something official, but it's something that every other independent creator have noticed happening. So I see that this is happening to our channel. It's not good, but at least we're still here. The point is, will we be able to do parodies? Will we be able to make fun of things? Because it looks like doing critiques and doing commentary, that is fair game, and YouTube has no problem with it. As it was shown with the Blame It on the Edit video that went back up. But what if I want to make fun of something? What if I want to make a video that's all about Crystal stuck in a ditch because RuPaul put her there and told her to put the lotion on the mullet? What if I want to do that? Will it stay up? Will it go down? Will I get a strike? Who knows? Who knows? Nobody knows. So we'll keep staying here for as long as we can. I will have to reevaluate the future projects that I do, because the last thing that I want is to really spend hundreds and hundreds of hours into making animations, making edits, making special effects, and then the video cannot stay up. I mean, it doesn't really set you into the right creative mood, knowing that you basically have a gun pointed to your head. So we will see. We'll go this week by week, day by day. So I basically took a week off because, sorry, I didn't really feel like doing anything concern the channel. I didn't check the comments. I didn't respond to anyone. The only person that I responded was Fantasia, but girl, she pays for our drinks, so I have to respond to her. No, it's not because of that. It's because I received notification from Patreon. But, I basically cut off everything because you need a moment. And I appear to really need a moment more than usual. So a couple of days ago, I was thinking maybe I'm going through a special snowflake phase or something like that. Who knows? Oh, Kayo Kamada, you better frack that mullet, baby. Yes, we gotta frack the mullet. Now, let's go on, and let's talk about this person, Miz Cracker. Now, who is Miz Cracker? Let's try for a moment to rewind in our mind who this person is, because there are people who have no idea who she is. Remember, these are the guys that tuned in for Drag Race this year, or maybe the year before. They have never seen this person, but we've seen her. So we know that she's a person who tends to be kind of controlling, who made some very questionable interviews, who wrote some questionable articles, and that something is going on. We've seen some vague booking about her on social media. There is something going around. But what everybody knows about Miz Cracker is her YouTube channel. She does a show called Review with a Jew, which is a very good show. That's actually how I got more into her. How I got to know her, how I got to follow her, basically, because I'm not very active on social media. I'm more active here on YouTube. And it's very, very popular. She usually gets about, I think, 500,000 views per episode. It's a good thing. She has a good thing going on. And spoiler alert, she's not doing it for this season. And I think because maybe the contract was more draconian than usual. But we will see about that, what she comes out with. Because, sometimes with contract, if you twiddle the wording, you can still continue to do what you were doing before without having any legal trouble, For example, remember Willem's bit down that became beat down with Willem? That is something like that. So this is the person we are dealing with. Now, a lot can be said about Cracker. You can like her, you cannot like her, you can think she's shady, you can think she is a nice person, you can think whatever you want. I think we can all agree on the fact that this person is not an idiot. She is absolutely not an idiot. And not only she's not an idiot, she's also kind of smart. She's very smart, actually. It's not just about how smart her jokes are. It's about how her expertise of the language on how to communicate whatever she wants to communicate in a very, very specific way. She reminds me a lot of Jackie Cox. Of course, she's not Jackie Cox because everybody wants to be Jackie Cox, but she is not Jackie Cox. So she won't be rocking Brita's outfit at the Folsom Street Fair anytime soon. So, my God. Oh my god. Well, so it's Miz Cracker, okay? So what's interesting about Miz Cracker is that in episode 2, let's go back for a moment to episode 2. We had this moment with Cracker, who couldn't sleep last night. Why couldn't you sleep last night, Cracker? Well, she couldn't sleep because she didn't bring a whiteout to to her voting booth to wipe out the name from the lipstick and write angina on that. So Cracker couldn't sleep. And and of course she comes out the day after and she goes to Angina and says, "Oh my God, Angina, I couldn't sleep last night because I didn't vote for you. I should have done like pain de la creme and vote against you and blah blah blah. But it's from a place of love and blah 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 and blah 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 and blah blah." And basically you have this big delusion in which Cracker is desperately trying to pass out as somebody who is clueless. Okay. Of course, this is my opinion, but this is the basic storyline. She's trying to pass out as somebody who is clueless, who comes out saying, "Well, I said that because I wanted to give you a push. I wanted you to understand what you did wrong. I wanted you to get feedback, and things like this." It comes from a place of love. Now, at this point, objectively, one could say, yes, it could be. You could honestly look at the thing and say, well, yes, it could be, but it also could not be. And certainly Angina believes that that is not the case. So why is she doing this? Why did she do this? Well, we have to consider the two possibilities, okay? So either she's really clueless and we put it there, or she is smart enough to take advantage of the situation and make it all about herself. It's not, "Oh, Angina, wait, you were saved last time, and I think that you didn't deserve that. So bring out the fire, motivate you, go on." No, it's not that. It's I couldn't sleep last night because I didn't bring a whiteout and I didn't put your name there. So you're making it all about yourself. Also, you're adding plausible deniability to it. Because you're saying it's not about myself, it's about you. You are the one who didn't perform well. And also, added bonus, you're also passively attacking Angina. And who is Angina? Angina is a queen that's been there for 12 years. A constant fan favorite in a time where social media meant nothing. And she continued to stay relevant and stay beloved year after year after year after year. And Angina is the perfect candidate. She was the perfect candidate to win the season of All Stars. Not only because she was beloved, but also because she is not Caucasian in a time like this. This time like this was still last year as well, when this thing was filmed. But it's even more relevant now. So you get to do all these kind of things with the plausible deniability. So at this point, what happened? That online, a lot of people started saying, "Oh my God, Cracker is being portrayed as a villain. What are they doing with Cracker? There are shady noises, there are this and there are that." And we covered this episode in the Chop. And you know what I told you immediately after episode 2 aired? They're not giving her a villain edit. She's getting a redemption edit, because which kind of villain gets to speak and explain himself in confessionals for 4 or 5 minutes? And we've seen her crying, we've seen her justifying what she said. She had plenty of time to explain herself. Emotional music was always playing in the background. That's not a villain edit. That's you don't do that to a villain in the episode in which you are establishing the foundation of its villain. Remember Britta. It was 4 months ago, so you should remember. Episode 2, she was a little bit bitchy with Widow, and we saw that. Then the episode after, she was kind of upset because she didn't felt like Hayden brought a lot of leadership to her group. And then the episode after, she finally blossomed as a villain. Okay, and then we got to see also emotional moments from her, because remember, a villain is also a person, so you want to give it something of a personability to it. But you see, she had her foundation, her villain foundation before, and this is something that Cracker didn't have, because she immediately had redemption in the same episode. So already you start to see something happening. You already start to see something happening. First, she is not a villain. Second, she has a redemption edit. Now, the only question is, did she know that this would happen? Did she know it? And we're going to talk about that because the answer to that is really funny. Now, let's move on after this because, wait a moment. Oh, there we go. There we go. I forgot to show you this image. You see, I start talking, I forget things as usual. I always forget things. So we get all these short clips of Cracker explaining herself. And this is a villain. You telling me this is a villain. Anyway, by the end of this episode, Ongina gave up completely. Ongina completely gave up. Was it about Cracker? I don't know. I don't know, but I can tell you something. She was really upset. You've seen her confessional. She told her to shut the fuck up. If that's not upset, I don't know what upset looks like. So by the end of the episode, Ongina gave up. And by the end of the next 2 episodes, two of the queens who were commenting on what she was doing to Ongina, they went home. And the third one, Alexis, she's well on her way to get a fantastic villain edit for this season. So, are the editors buying it? Oh, yes. Yes, they bought Cracker 100%. She set the whole thing in motion with Ongina in the beginning. Then she gave plenty of confessionals explaining herself, and the redemption line is set. And with that set in motion, we finally have our antagonistic queens and the main villain of the season, which is Alexis. And this theme, is going to carry on immediately during episode 3. So, while we are doing this, I want to remember something. I want you to understand and remember something. Cracker is a 40-year-old man. It's not a teenage girl. Okay? He's not an idiot. Not only because he's 40 years old, but because he's shown that he's 40 years old. So you might be buying that he's being clueless. But, you know, if you are a clueless person, I am expecting to see that being clueless carried on episode after episode after episode. And that doesn't happen. Because in episode 2, immediately you have Alexis coming out and calling her out about what happened with Ongina. And you know how Alexis is. You know, she keeps it pretty real, she goes straight to the point, and most of all, she's an established queen. A very old school established queen. So, much like Derek, she doesn't really care about the edit. She doesn't really care about doing her best to absolutely play 100% the game. No. She will take the side road and just not give a shit. She will do it. That's who Alexis is. That's how Derek is. That's how all the queens who have nothing to lose or nothing to gain will do during this competition. So, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting. So, what happens during episode 3? Well, immediately we get in the workroom, and Alexis asks her about Ongina. And Cracker's answer is this.
This is the real talk. What was the purpose of going into Ongina in the beginning of the morning?
My intention was to say, Ongina, I want you to believe in yourself because I need to see that.
Oops, I fucked up. That was the wrong clip. That was Alexis's question. Oh, great. Great. Was it Alexis' question? Then where is the other clip? I lost it, didn't I? Yes, I lost it. Damn. Damn, I lost the clip. One moment, I have to load it. Stay there. Because I lost it.
Are you okay, Mayhem?
Girl, I don't believe none of this. I'm just gonna be real.
Right.
I really don't believe none of it.
All I can do is apologize and say that I was wrong.
She's not here any longer, and now you're gonna say you apologize? It's done.
Sorry, I'm in a little bit of an unprofessional moment. I forgot to load this clip into the software, so we didn't really get to see it. Okay, so you've seen Cracker's answer to that. Now, the problem is here. What's the problem? She say, I wanted her to believe in herself. Okay? And I might ask you something for a moment. If you want somebody to believe in herself, do you tell them you should believe in yourself, or do you remind them of how bad they were and how the consequences of how bad they were made it all about you? That didn't make much sense, did it? Well, that's because I'm emotionally invested in this thing. I am a huge fan of Angina, and when I saw this thing happening, I tried my best to remain objective. But still, it's difficult, because if you want to be supportive, you just don't take somebody and basically crash them down and say, oh, you should have been in the bottom. And you weren't. So I was trying to, I am sorry that I didn't do something that would have put you in the bottom. I mean, that's not what supportive looks like. And a 40-year-old man, as smart as Miz Cracker, must know exactly that. So if she is not doing because she's clueless, why is she doing it? Well, because in my opinion, what she's trying to do is to create a storyline, a good storyline at that. And in this, Cracker is absolutely exceptional. She is absolutely exceptional in doing this. The problem is that while she's bringing the storyline up, she's also stirring the pot. And even that is a good thing, because stirring the pot is just what the editors want. But you know why many queens don't usually stir the pot? Because they don't want to be portrayed like villains. But Cracker has an advantage to that. She has a huge following. She is the most followed queen in this season. She's the one with the biggest social media following. And you've seen what happens in All Stars 3, where all the queens finally came out and said, listen, I didn't want to vote for Trixie out because I was afraid of social media backlash. So she has an advantage. She has a leg up. She can afford to do this kind of things. And be sure that there is a great chance that she will be portrayed as a redemption edit, if she puts in the work. Now, the episode continues. We have this moment of exchange, and something that's very interesting happens here. Because you see that there are exactly 8 people on screen, and if you take Cracker out, there are 7 people left there. Of the 7 people, 4 people are all of the same opinion that what Cracker did was uncalled for. 4 people. It's Mayhem, Mariah, Alexis, and India. Then you have Blair, who is kind of nodding, but is not really taking a proper position yet. He will take a position with the other queens, of course, but he's not taking a position in this exact instance. And then who we have? We have Jujubee and Shay. And Jujubee and Shay, they knew exactly which kind of game is being played, and they know exactly what they have to do to stay in the game. They are the only one who are absolutely not only overlooking this situation, but going with it, as if they had absolutely no other choice. It's madness when you look at it. It's absolute madness. And we're going to look at it. Moving on in this episode, RuPaul comes in at some point to announce that, of course, there is no mini challenge, because as usual, you know what mini challenges are for, right? They are basically advertisements. So we speculate that nobody was willing to advertise on Drag Race for this episode, so there is no mini challenge. And the maxi challenge will be design a signature suite. Club 96. Yes, that's what I thought. That's what I thought when I saw this challenge. I thought, God, this is going to be a good challenge. The problem is that when she announces this challenge, she also announces that they will be deciding the team. The producers will be deciding the teams. I wonder, I wonder. How convenient is that, isn't it? I mean, but it's not as bad as it looks, but still, they could have had a little bit of a mini challenge and then let the queen decide the teams by themselves. You know, after all, they're not going to judge them as teams. So what is the point in teaming them up? So I smell a stunt there. I smell a stunt. They wanted something to happen. It didn't happen. And so they didn't judge them as team in the end. But that's the only reason why they would have teamed them up together, the way they wanted them, and not let them choose for themselves. So, of course, the challenge is an acting challenge. So everything is edited. Everything we have to take at face value, because we have no way to understand who was good, who was not good, which kind of take we were shown. So I'm not going to discuss that because I see absolutely no point. If I had a way of showing some kind of graph, of making some kind of graph and maybe discuss that would be something interesting. But, you know, since I have none of that, I let that do to other shows. There are so many shows who do reviews of RuPaul's Drag Race. You can watch something like that. They also do it with better production value. So moving on to the interested part. The interesting part is immediately during the workroom scene, and we have Blair and Mayhem, and they're talking about Cracker, because don't forget the challenge before, they were in a team with Cracker. So basically they're saying she is over controlling. It was hard to work with her. And Mayhem is coming out and saying this very important thing. She's saying Cracker is not honing up to what she does concerning to the angina situation. She is just justifying herself instead of just owning up to it and say, yes, it was gratuitous and I just said it, you know. But of course she couldn't own that, because when you understand what's really going on behind that scene, you cannot come out and own that. How can you come to the screen and say, oh yes, I did it to make it about me. I did it because it was convenient to push out a queen. I did it because it was good to set a redemption edit in motion for me. You cannot do that. You just cannot do that, you know. It's not like Gia Gunn coming out and shitting out on Pheromone and saying, yes, you look bad, that's what I think, and she owns that, you know. That you can do. But this is Mayhem is asking for the impossible. It's impossible to own something like this. It's simply a mortal sin, because it exposes the overproduced nature of the show. And, you know, the show has to sell the illusion that is real. So what she's asking for, it's simply impossible. But basically, she's opening up with Blair and basically explaining the tip of the iceberg. And Blair agrees with it. That's what this whole scene is about. By the next episode, this scene will be blown out of proportion. Of course it will be blown out of proportion, because, you know, we need conflict. And Miz Cracker, who is not an idiot, she perfectly understands this. She perfectly understands this because she's smart. She is smart. Get this in your head. She is smart. She's really smart. I did some research last week. She is really smart. So let's keep carrying on with that. So in the next scene, this is another interesting scene. You see, Miz Cracker is talking. And she's talking with Shay, they are kicking, they are in the same team, and she's saying these exact words. I work well with people that I respect. Now, on face value, it means nothing. But if you really listen and understand the words, it means everything. Because respect is a very specific word with a very specific meaning. She's not saying I work well with people that inspire me. I work well with people that I go along with. I work well with people where I can learn something from. She's saying I work well with people that I respect. So respect is a triggering word. At least in this context it is. Because she's basically implying that she doesn't respect anybody else, that she is not listing, because she is listing the queens that she respects. So, of course, Alexis, who absolutely doesn't give a shit, because Alexis doesn't give a shit. She is not in for this overproduced show. She's not in for being concerned about the way she appears. She doesn't give a shit. She just turns and says, "So you don't respect me." She's basically stating in clear words what everybody is thinking but cannot say or doesn't want to say. And this scene is so interesting because you see two polar opposite reactions. One is Alexis' reaction, which is basically saying, okay, I understand your game and I'm calling it out. I don't like it, I'm calling it out, and I'm bringing it to light. Okay? And on the other hand, you have Shay's reaction. And Shay, I was really puzzled. I was really puzzled by Shay's reaction because knowing her and remembering when we had the season 9 reunion, for example, I'm not talking about the reunited episode, the live one. No, the Kiki reunion, you know, the one with the Queens and RuPaul and nobody else. And you get a glimpse of who Shay is in that exact moment. She is quick. She is smart. She doesn't take bullshit from anyone. She is sickening. She owns it. She's the full package. So why the hell is Shay taking Cracker's position? And that thing really puzzled me because it just didn't fit. That's not what Shay does. Shay is more like Alexis. She's that kind of person. So I thought, then what the hell is it happening? Am I reading this wrong, or is there something more? Well, that is for you to decide. It could be that I'm reading something wrong with it, but what I think is happening is that Shay, she is quick, she is not an idiot, and she knows that African American people on Drag Race usually are portrayed as villains. Remember Latrice, remember the Vixen, remember BB, remember Kennedy, remember all these queens, and I'm missing a lot with them. But I made a chart since the move to VH1 where basically 80% of the villains 85% of the villains were queens of color, and 60% of them were African Americans. So I should have brought the chart here. I'm sorry I didn't make it. But anyway, what I think is happening is that she knows that a black person will be portrayed as a villain, no matter what. Best case scenario, a person of color. Best case scenario. So she knows somebody has to go down. And this situation, this is the catalyst that will basically create the split between the storylines and create the factions. On one side, the heroes. On the other side, the villains. And what I think is happening, and maybe and I don't think I'm overestimating her. I think she knows exactly what's going on behind it. She's making a conscious choice and saying, okay, Cracker is probably getting a redemption headed. She is white. She is thin. She has a huge following. So she must be getting a redemption headed. So let me side with that. And this is what I think is happening here. I know it's a lot. You can tell me what you think about this, but it's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. Now, moving on. We have the main challenge. Now, moving on to the main challenge. I only took this still image, okay? For one reason and one reason only. They won. These two were the best. If I have to take everything I see at face value and face value only, then whatever I was shown was not as good as this. I think that they clearly won. They nailed it down. The challenge was good. They were funny, and funny in a funny way. Not funny in I'm being campy as stupid because everybody is 5 years old and laughs when people make faces. They had actual comedy in there. Subtle comedy. At least a tiny bit subtle comedy. And the room looked great. So for me, they were the absolute winner. But, you know. it's Drag Race. It's not about who it's not a competition anymore. It's about who the producers want to win. And one way or the other, those are the people who will win. So after this challenge, we get to the runway, and I don't have still image for each of these queens, okay? But I can tell you that for episode 3, the main how is it called? The theme for the runway was a 3-in-1 look. And the problem is that while Blair, Alexis, Mariah, Jujubee, and Shea, they really had 3 complete looks that really told a story, each looks. Some queens didn't really have 3 looks. They had 2. So based on that, since I cannot really judge the acting challenge because I have no idea what really happened in there. So from my perspective, the only thing that I can judge is the runway. So based on that, for me, Mayhem, Hindia, and Cracker should have been in the bottom because they are the only one who had basically 2 looks. They can try as much as they wanted to move them around and say, oh, it's 3 looks, but it's really 2 looks. It wasn't anywhere near what queens like Shea or Alexis did, where they had 3 absolutely complete looks, completely different, each one with its own story. That was the challenge. That was what the queen should have done. But of course, it's Drag Race. So the queens are not judged about how much they applied themselves to the runway. They are not judged about that. They are judged about however they want them to be portrayed and judged. So in my opinion, Blair should have won this challenge. They had the best room, and for once, even RuPaul agreed that they had the best room. And of the ones who had the best room, she is the one who had the best outfit. She had 3 incredible outfits, completely different, each one with its own story. So for me, Blair won this challenge. And I don't know how many of you will agree with that, but you know, at some point, objectively, as much as I love Jujubee, I have to come to deal with the fact that you cannot take the affection that you have for some queens and let that affection be used to obfuscate everything that other queens did. Like Blair, for example, we're showing an amazing and incredible growth, and Hindia too. These are queens that are showing an incredible growth to the challenge. So as much as I like Jujubee, I don't think she should have won this challenge. I think this was uncalled for. The challenge that she should have won was the superhero challenge of All Stars 1, that she didn't win because they had to be put in the bottom for, drama reason, to have them lip sync Raven against Jujubee and then they both stay and blah, 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 blah. That was the first challenge that Jujubee won, in my mind at least. Not this one. Not this one at all. And, when you elevate artificially a queens like that, what you are basically doing, from my perspective, is to tarnishing their image, because you are forcing them to deal with something that they didn't really deserve. Some will deal with it and come clear with it and say, well, I didn't really deserve it, like she did. If you look back at Jujubee's reaction, she's like, what the fuck is she saying? I'm the winner, but some other will start to leave the fantasy and go with it. And, we are still watching everything. You know what's happening. It's a hero headed all over again. We just came out of one and saw the consequences of it. So we have its Drag Race. Moreover, it's VH1's Drag Race. So we get the judging that we have. And unfortunately, the judging is a complete bullshit. This is the worst. No, it's not the worst. The worst is going to come next episode. So Jujubee is the winner, and in the bottom we have India, we have Mariah, And hello, we have Shay in the bottom. Now, if I wait a second because I have to reorganize. Okay, here we are. Yes, this is the right image. So we have Shay in the bottom. Now look at the queens that you have on the screen. On the far left, you have Blair and Mayhem. They were the ones declared safe. Okay? Then we have Jujubee in the center, who is the winner, and we are left with 5 queens. Okay? Now, of these 5 queens, Alexis was declared safe, and Cracker was declared safe. So basically they were left with 3 queens, and they put them all 3 in the bottom. But when you look back at it, Alexis, of course, was safe. She had an incredible runway, and she did pretty well in the challenge. But what about Cracker? What about Cracker? Why was Cracker safe against Shay during this specific episode? And this is where I really want you to focus on. Because Cracker should have been in the bottom, but she was not. And Shay was put in the bottom, but she didn't deserve it. So we see that because we are brighter. So we see that. But don't forget, when they were filming this, they saw that as well. Everybody saw Shay's outfit. Everybody was like, that's incredible. You cannot go home for that. You cannot. Everybody sees that. That's their job. They know this thing. So they all knew that Cracker should have been in the bottom and Shay should have been safe. But the opposite happens. And that's exactly the job of a producer, because that stirs up the drama. What they are trying to do, in my opinion, by putting Shay in the bottom in this episode, is to pit her against the person who should have really been in the bottom. Because you know how she would look like? Like she's full of shit. Because she went from the workroom defending Cracker to, after this challenge, talking shit about her because she was not in the bottom. It would have been an incredible villain storyline. But of course, Shay's not an idiot, so she didn't buy into that. And that was a giant middle fingers to the producers. It was a giant middle fingers to the producers. So, and a round of applause for Shay. A round of applause for Shay. She's not an idiot. So don't try to bring her into this, because she's not. She will come out with a class act. And that's exactly what she does. So in the deliberation, we have Blair's reaction to the whole thing, saying, Shay, you were in the bottom. Look at her face. Look at her face. Everybody was shocked that Shay was in the bottom. She was not there by chance. If she was there, there was a reason. And the reason that I believe is the most likely was to pit her against the fan favorite. Thankfully, that didn't work. But of course, somebody will have to be the villain. Somebody will have to be the villain. Now, as the episode goes on, the queens have to decide who they will have to eliminate. So they do the deliberation, the lipstick thing, and blah, blah, blah. You know all about that. You know what I think about it, so there's no need to talk about that. We have a lip sync with Jujubee against... Damn, I don't remember her name. Monet Exchange. Now, is Monet a lip sync assassin? Well, I don't know. I came to like her outside of Drag Race. Inside Drag Race, especially after the first season she was in, she did nothing for me, absolutely. If anything, her lip sync looked very kind of gimmicky. That's what I was left with. So I don't know, this thing with lip sync. Where is Latrice? I mean, lip sync assassin is someone who can turn it, you know, and it's not just someone who won a lot. It's someone who can really turn different style, bring on a show, entertain you, do things that it's not just acrobatic or moving your mouth. It's you know, it's a full show. So I don't know. I was you know, when I saw Monet, I was like, well, Jujubee won, and then she turned it. Then she did a really good job. So props to Monet, because she broke something that hasn't happened for 5 times in a row. She beat Jujubee. Now, we can still debate a little bit about that. It almost looked like Jujubee wasn't really trying. But Jujubee, she's the unbeatable goddess of lip sync. So we've seen an incredible record go down during this episode. And I think that we should remember that. Keep that in mind. Now, Monet wins. So nobody gets the money. At least not for this episode. And in the end, Mariah is sent home by the group. Now, did Mariah deserve to go home? Well, a case can be made for everybody, and we can spend hours discussing who should have gone home, who should have not gone home. But in the end, when you look at the queens that were left, Shea shouldn't have been in the bottom to begin with. And India, I'm so surprised by India. You know, I came into this thing saying somebody needs to go on first, and then she's the one who's working the hardest out of all of them. She has incredible outfits, she has incredible comebacks, she is 110 committed. She's just I'm absolutely blown out. I'm pleasantly surprised. That's what All Stars should do for each of these queens. You know, they should leave the viewers looking like this, thinking, my God, that was amazing. That was amazing. So in the end, when you have people like Shea and India, of course Mariah had to go home. But I'm sorry about it. I'm sorry about it, because I've been waiting for a long time to see more about her. And, you know, I would have preferred to see a little bit more. Maybe a different, I don't know, maybe a different kind of format for All Stars. Maybe have all the queens stay for all the episode and find another way to score them, because, you know, these are All Stars. You know, it's a pity that you just have them from 1 or 2 episodes. That's exactly why we want them. We want to see more of them. Anyway, moving on to episode 4. So the queens come back, and we have this scene on the sofa where everybody is talking and say, oh, who did you vote for? Who did you vote for? Oh, wait. There are 2 votes for Shea. And this is an interesting moment, because when they tally up the votes, they find out that there are 2, not 1, but 2 votes for Shea. And in that moment, you have Mayhem coming out in a confessional. This, of course, was a producing choice. But she's basically coming clean and saying, well, I was under the impression that we were just throwing Shea under the bus and that's it. But Alexis kind of backpedaled with it. I don't know, at least this is the impression that I have from the final edit. From simply watching the show, the impression that I had was that Alexis completely backpedaled. Am I buying it? I don't know. I think like there is something that was not shown to me. Because she said one thing when she was talking to Shea. You know, she was saying, I couldn't send Mariah home because I have a personal connection with her. And India was out of the question because she is performing so well. But it was cut in a way that made her look like she was basically full of shit. Like she basically wanted to throw Shea under the bus, but she didn't really want to admit it, really want to own up to it. Is it possible? I don't know. I think it is possible. Everything is possible. You know how much stress they are in. So that kind of situation can bring out the worst in everyone. So I'm not excluding that. But I'm also not excluding that that scene was cut in a way specifically to convey the perception that Alexis was behaving basically like a shitty bitch. That I'm not excluding. Because it's convenient to the plot. She is the villain after all, so every chance there is to actually portray her in the worst possible light need to be taken. That's the definition of a villain edit. Moving on, after this we have the main challenge. Ru comes in. Of course there is no mini challenge. There is no mini challenge because again, you know, I don't know. No advertisement, who knows? Nobody knows. But there was no mini challenge. The interesting thing is the maxi challenge, which is acting in a parody show called She MC. So the queens will be given a script provided by the producers. The teams are assigned by the producers. The roles are assigned by the producers, and the final edit will be decided by the producers. I'm sorry, what the hell am I watching for? What am I watching? Why am I watching this? Why don't they just stick wires on these queens and puppeteer them? Because, you know, it's Drag Race under World of Wonder under VH1. They don't just want some of the power, they want all the power, all the time. So they are given the script, they are given the roles, they are given the teams, they will be cut the way they want to be cut. Why am I even discussing this challenge? What is the point? Tell me, what is the point? Apart from the fact that it was a really terrible challenge. It was terrible, it was cringy, it was so bad. Apart from that, so we know that they have to hire better people to work in the writing room. But apart from that, why would I even discuss this thing? There is nothing to discuss about it. There really is nothing to discuss about it. How am I going to compare? What am I seeing when 100% of that has nothing to do with the queens themselves? So it's really frustrating in a way. It's really frustrating. It's even more... My God, I can't do this. I'm sorry. So we have this scene. After Ru announces all this shit and blah blah blah, we have this scene with India Farah. And we find out that, India comes out and said, "Oh, look, I was given the role of a shoplifter. What a coincidence. I was arrested for shoplifting." And then I thought, yes, India, you are absolutely right. What a coincidence that you were assigned the role of a shoplifter. It's almost as if they knew that somehow you were arrested. Oh, wait, yes. Yes, it's in the contract. They have to give out their criminal record. Yes, it's in the contract. They knew she was arrested. They knew. And if they didn't know by the private investigation, they knew because they asked them directly in the contract. Have you ever been convicted of a crime? What a coincidence, India. What a coincidence. You were giving a shoplifter. My God. Yes. Yes. My God, guys, I don't know. I'm trying. I'm really trying my best. But I'm starting to think that All Stars 5, it's the worst season of Drag Race we've had in ages. Probably the worst ever. If you thought that season 12 was bad, we were not ready for All Stars 5. We were not ready for that. It's like they don't even try to hide these things anymore. They just don't give a shit. They just say, you know what? Our 70% of our audience is under the age of 16 and our education system was fucked up for the last 20 years. So we can basically do whatever the fuck we want and we don't give a shit. The other 30% can go fuck themselves. We don't give a shit anymore. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyway. Moving on. After this, we had this incredible, surreal scene. So Cracker is going on a witch hunt because, it's Cracker and she has to continue her storyline. So after having a rough start with Ongina, we find out that the mighty Cracker with the heart of gold is slowly learning to understand that you have to phrase things in a very specific way, otherwise people can get upset, despite your best intention. But we've seen her crying during the confessionals, we've seen her laugh outside, kicking with the other girls, she is the full package, she is a fully realized grown person, and now she has a curiosity. Are really people plotting against me? So she's going on a witch hunt with Blair. And Blair is like, what the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck are you talking about? And what's most surreal about this scene is that Cracker talks really slowly because she learned to weight each word. And she's also checking the cameras many times because, since you are trying to do your best for your storyline, you have to check that the cameras are rolling, baby. And this is just one screenshot that I get, but there are like 20. When I was watching this, I was thinking, damn, of course you are Bob's drag daughter. Because that's what Bob kept doing during their scene. You remember in season 8, there was Bob, he looked like a kid, and a kid when you're asking him to act on a set. And you're like, don't look directly in the camera because, you have to act. The camera is not there. And the kid keeps looking at the camera. That was the whole Bob thing during season 8. And of course, Cracker, being the son of Bob, she has the same thing. But we know whenever with Bob, it really came from a place of kind of feeling observed. That at least that's the impression that I had. With Cracker, it really happened only in this scene. It happened so many times. So this scene was completely surreal. And in the middle, we have Jujubee, who is like, I completely understand the fuck is happening here, but I want to have nothing to do with it. I want to stay out of it. I am Jujubee. I can go on my own. I don't need this kind of shit. And she doesn't, because she's Jujubee. She doesn't. So this scene is completely surreal. I was like, damn. Cracker is Cracker. Is Cracker. So she asks Blair. My God, she asks Blair. I mean, have you seen Blair? My God. So we are hit. We are hit with a lot of confessionals from Cracker explaining for us what's happening, because of course the producers want us to want Cracker to explain, to narrate a little bit what's going on. And after she introduces herself through confessionals, we have this scene in which she uses these exact words to Blair. And she says, Alexis strongly suggested that you and perhaps Mayhem were discussing strategies to push me out of this competition. This is what Cracker said in a very slow voice because she learned to weight her words. This was Cracker said. And you know what she's referring to? What we talked before. Do you remember with Mayhem saying that Cracker should hone what she does? Yes, that's the conversation she's referring to. But it's a storyline. It's a storyline. So since Alexis suggested it, not only you get to be relevant, not only you get to star in a witch hunt, but it's a win-win situation. Because if the witch hunt turned out to be false, then Alexis is full of shit. But if the witch hunt turned out to be true, then you're a victim, which is even better. So it's a win-win situation. And of course, she takes it. Because remember, you can like or dislike Cracker, but you cannot say that she's not smart. She is really smart. Not like Jackie Cox. Nobody is Jackie Cox. Nobody is Jackie Cox. No Folsom Street Fair. Nobody. Moving on. We have this thing. I don't know. Mr. Invisible was getting red in his face. It was refusing to watch this thing. I was watching it, kind of thinking, well, they're acting like straight douchebags or whatever the hell they are supposed to be acting with, because Drag Race is all about I don't know what's all about anymore, but that's it. We have this thing. How would you define this thing? How would you define this thing? Look at it. It's awful. It's just awful. The best thing about this is Mayhem. Look at Mayhem with that beard, with that facial hair, and tell me if it's not absolutely bangable. Absolutely bangable. My God. That was the only thing. Everything else was awful. It was awful. It was so bad. I have no words. I lack the verbal abilities to describe how bad this challenge was. It was awful. It was awful. Let's move on. Let's not talk about this. The only thing good that there was about this challenge was Alexis and Shay. When they were actually acting. You know, the script, of course, was complete shit because nobody pays for writers anymore. Anybody can write, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, they looked like the more committed to it. It was kind of fun, you know. They had this chemistry between them that worked really well. Not in this thing. When they had their scenes alone. Not in this thing. This thing was awful. It should be burned. I should throw acid in my eyes after seeing this. It was awful. And one more thing. We looked at this and think, my God, it's awful, it's cringe, it's terrible, whatever it is. But please, when you have the chance, grab a beer and drink at these people's health, because they all have to act on this. They have to act in this. And they had to look convincing during this. And they were feeling worse than we did just by watching it. So in honor of them, all of them, including Miz Cracker, because we are on everybody's side. It was awful. It was just awful. Let's jump to the runway. So we are back to the runway, and the theme for the runway is camouflage couture. Now, I think they all look kind of good. I liked everybody, but the runways that I really didn't like were Jujubee. I absolutely didn't like that, and I have to say it, Cracker. I didn't like that. It was so simple. It was so mayhem, even mayhem. It was too simple. It was simply too simple. When you look what everybody else did, look at Alexis, look at Blair, look at India. They all look incredible. They took this concept, brought it completely to a whole new level, and then look what everybody else did. It's just too simple. Shay is right in the middle for me. For me, she's right middle of the package. She did good. This blue camouflage, it was really a good idea. Could have been executed better, but she's surely not bottom of the barrel. But the other three should have been, you know. It's but of course, it's a drag race. And worst of all, it's VH1 Drag Race, and it's VH1 All Stars Drag Race. So of course. The judges are completely full of shit. I don't know. Do any of you ever agree with anything that the judges says? Because every time I hear them, everything that I hear is like this bending of space, time, and reality. You know, it's like they're going up and above to try to make up look as down, bad look as good, or do the opposite. It's like they have to reach a certain point. They have to put someone in the bottom, and they're trying to find the way to justify it the most. And I cannot believe that they're not in on this. They have to be in on this, because sometimes they get so creative in order to bring down someone that you cannot be that creative naturally. It has to be on purpose. It has to be on purpose. Like, I mean, guys, you've seen this. So we have our bullshit judging where Jujubee gets praised to be Jujubee. And I second that. Okay, I second that. It's not nice, but I second that. Then Alexis gets red because she stole the show from Shay. So let me understand this, because the critiques are absolutely incoherent. Drag Race has become a show for people who've been watching for 12 months, not for 12 seasons. Because suddenly stealing the scene from someone is not a good thing anymore. You have to be a good partner. You have to be a good partner, and you have to stay silent at times so that your partner can do his lines. When I checked back last time, you had to steal the scene. You had to bring yourself up to the challenge. You had to give it your whole. You had to shine above everybody else. So you see that this is the kind of bullshit that we're dealing with. And they are not even trying to make it convincing. So Alexis needs to be read for something because she clearly won the challenge. But she cannot be given the win. She cannot be given the win. That's not how you create the perfect villain. You create the perfect villain by giving the win to somebody who the villain is against. Remember last season? Again, season 12, 3 months ago. Do you remember what episode was it? Episode 4, episode 5. We had 5 queens in the bottom and 5 queens in the top. And despite the fact that Brita and Aiden were in a team together, somehow one ended up in the top and one ended up in the bottom. Who ended up in the bottom? The villain. Who ended up in the top? The victim. Who's the winner this challenge? Miz Cracker, the victim. Who should have won, but didn't? Alexis, the villain. And they couldn't put her in the bottom. It was inconceivable. After that runway and what everybody else took around and what she did in the challenge, they couldn't have possibly put her in the bottom. But at least she didn't win. Again, all of these things, I think they are made for a clear purpose. It's about pushing a storyline. But, you know, you have your own mind. You can make your own opinion with that. I'm just sharing mine. So, after Alexis gets read, Cracker is praised for her stiff acting. Because let's be real with it. Cracker is a good actor when it comes to impersonate real human emotions. In that, she completely excels. Because she's able to establish a connection, I believe, with her human emotions. So whenever she has to act as herself, she's really good in that. When she has to act a character, it's stiff as hell. So, but she gets praised. Incredible, isn't it? Of course, then India gets read because she's India. Because, you know, even though the challenge was kind of meh, but it wasn't really even that bad. Despite the fact that the shit was edited out of it, it was still not that bad, and the runway was incredible. India's runway was completely incredible. The makeup was fantastic. It was fresh. It was something that we've never seen in years. You know how many times we see things and say, yes, it's great, but we saw something similar. It's not that easy anymore to look at something and say, oh, wait, this is unique. When I saw India, what I thought was about Alaska's and Detox makeup during All Stars, when they had that black line in the face covering their eyes. Like, I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about. That's how unique I'm thinking about. But of course she's India. So who gives a shit about India, you know? Because nobody was expecting for India to come in the competition and completely murder everybody. Everybody. She is, and what we are seeing is the result of India being pushed in the bottom and pushed in the bottom and pushed in the bottom and not be really allowed to shine. This is what we are seeing. Imagine if she had a favorable edit. Imagine what we would have seen. Because we are just seeing the crumbles. And the crumbles are already shining like crazy. I am so impressed with India. Shark smile. That's how I lovely call her, you know. The smile of a shark and the hanger of a tiger. She's murdering everybody. But, you know, she's India. So she's in the bottom. She has to be pushed in the bottom. She cannot be allowed to have such a redemption arc coming from season 3. Because that redemption belongs to someone else. You get it? Good. So we finally reached the pinnacle of bullshit. As I told you when we were discussing the episode before. when we get this exchange. You remember this exchange? Let me refresh your mind. We have Carlson coming out and say, well, Mayhem, I didn't really get your outfit. I didn't get the idea with it. Because, of course, Carlson is not familiar with black Barbies. Even though they've been a thing for the past 15 years, clearly he is ancient enough to remember a time in which Barbie was blonde and white. So he didn't get that she was a combat Barbie. I don't know how is it possible not to see that. Of course, I don't really believe in what I said. What I believe is that he had to bring her down because that's what he was paid for in this episode, to bring the bottom down. But, let's go on with the fantasy and say that he's just a senile man who is not up to date with the trends in children's doll. So he says, I absolutely didn't get what it was. And Mayhem, who is Mayhem, who doesn't give a shit anymore, because Mayhem doesn't really give a shit anymore. She's like, well, you know what? I'm a combat Barbie, and she shows attitude. She shows absolute attitude. She doesn't care because she knows what's going to happen. She knows already. And then Michelle chimes in, and that is the pinnacle of bullshit. We will never get a moment like this anymore. Never. We will never top this moment anymore. Because Michelle goes to Mayhem and said, calm down your attitude. And please understand that we have to judge you, but we are here to help you shine the best that you can shine. Really, Michelle, that's their job. To help these queens shine. It's not to keep them in line. It's not to keep the ones with the storyline in the top and the one without in the bottom. It's not to try to maintain the appearance of justifying their decision despite being incoherent even within the same season. Not to talking about between different seasons. And you come out and say, we are here to help you shine? No, Michelle, you are there to make fucking money. And you don't give a shit about what you have to do or say in order to make your money. That's what you're here for. That's what everybody else is there for. I mean, look at Britta. She's still not on social media because of what these people did. They're not helping no one to shine. So this is the pinnacle of bullshit. This is the pinnacle of bullshit. Yes. Yes, Luis Felipe, you're absolutely right. This is the ultimate Fifi award. Fuck it. Eat it out.
Bullshit. That's bullshit.
Bullshit.
That's a joke.
Every fucking time.
I was being realistic.
Realistic with bullshit? Girl, bullshit. You are a fucking liar.
Yeah. She was being realistic, She was being realistic. They're there to help them. How nice. It's not like we all know that the Drag Race game is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not like we don't know that. It's a mountain of money. The money that these people made for filming one season is probably the same amount of money that normal people like us will see in 20 to 30 years. So I completely understand that they will say anything. But the fact that they are free to say it doesn't mean that I am not free to call it out for what it is. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. So please, at least, try to maintain a level of decency. Okay? Try to maintain a level of decency. Michelle could have come out and say, listen, we have a job. The job is to judge you, and this is All Stars, and we need, the usual drill. We need to look at the very microscopic things because we are at that level and blah, blah, blah. And this is a level of bullshit that I can tolerate. But this level of bullshit I cannot tolerate. So it was a great episode, wasn't it? It was an incredible episode. We had everything. We had the Blair Witch Project starring Miz Cracker. We had Trade Mayhem. We had everybody transforming into a straight jock for some reason. We had the worst challenge ever. It was the full package. This episode was the full package. So, after this incredible moments of critique, finally, we find out our bottom three. And our bottom three, the bottom two, is of course India, because India is always in the bottom. India has to be in the bottom. And Mayhem, because, she doesn't have a storyline anymore. So, look at them. I mean, I can't even begin with. I can't even begin with this. I mean, look at India's makeup. Do you see under her eyes, she has this black line? That's not really a black line. That's a green camouflage color that's radiating out from the black and blending into her highlight. I mean, and I don't know shit about makeup, and even I see that. Have you seen the others people's faces? I mean, well, whatever. What the hell am I talking about? Let's move on. So they go in the workroom because they have to deliberate, as usual. And something interesting happens here because Shay comes out and says, Mayhem and India, I thought you two were the top. And it's always interesting to see how the queens judge each other. We seldom see them do this. I don't know if the editors cut it out deliberately and the girls always give each other's opinions and feedback about how the challenge is going, but we, in the final edit, don't really see it very often. But it's nice when it happens, because Shay comes out and says, damn, I thought you were in the top, But they were in the bottom. How surprising is that? But that's not the interesting thing that happens here. The interesting thing is pleading their cases, because in here Miz Storyline is in full force. So let's bring ourselves back to date with the storyline. So we have Cracker, who is a person with a heart of gold, but unfortunately, even though she wants the best for everybody, she doesn't have really good verbal abilities. So whenever she says something, the result is that somebody gets hurt, but that's not really her intention. So nobody understands that, especially Alexis. But Cracker gets to explain to us what her real intentions are, and that she really is a person with a heart of gold. After that, once we establish that, the person with a heart of gold goes on an adventure. This adventure is called the witch hunt, in which they are really trying to figure out if somebody is plotting against her. Is this really a plot? No, it's not, because, there is nothing to it. But, as long as nobody points it out, we can follow it and pretend like it's real. So she goes on a witch hunt. And this witch hunt is against Blair St. Clair and Maya Miller, because they might be plotting against her. Is it true? Is it not true? Who cares? Who cares? It doesn't really matter, because if it's true, then she's a victim. If it's not true, then Alexis is full of shit. So everything Alexis says about Cracker is bullshit, because Alexis is full of shit. Win-win. After this, Cracker finally reaches her third level of enlightenment, in which she has to judge the two possible bottoms, who will have to go home. She starts with Mayhem, and she asks to Mayhem, do you feel like you showed something different this season that you showed in season 10? And notice the choice of words. She said, do you feel like you showed? Now, the last time I checked, and I'm not native English, so you might be calling me out on this. But last time I checked, feeling are not impressions or perceptions. Feelings are feelings. Feelings are emotions. I am sad. I am tired. I am happy. that those are feeling. You don't feel an opinion. You have an opinion, and then you can believe in that opinion, or maybe being emotionally invested in that opinion, but you don't feel an opinion. So, whenever somebody says, do you feel like, it's a trick question. It's a very sophisticated trick question, at least in my opinion. I cannot say if she's doing this on purpose, but if I wanted to fuck with somebody, I would do this absolutely on purpose. Ask them if they feel like, and then state a fact. Because there is something in our culture that says that you cannot judge people's feelings, because nobody can control feelings, and it's unnatural in our Western culture to suppress the way we feel or negate the way we feel. We have to embrace the way we feel, and that's our concept of health. That's what everything revolves around. Emotions are the eyes to the soul. That's our basic cultural background. So if you ask somebody the way they feel, you're already projecting on them the idea that they can say whatever the fuck they want because it's a feeling. And nobody can say anything about feelings. So do you understand? Do you understand the meaning of using that exact kind of wording? And instances like this, you see them continuously with Cracker. She has an excellent command of the language. She has incredible analytical abilities when it comes to verbal communications. She's not an idiot. I don't know if she has a kind of a degree in communications, in journalism, in literature, I don't know, but this kind of sophistication doesn't come by chance. This is something that is built. Okay? So she asks Mayhem, do you feel like you showed something different? And Mayhem goes on, says what she's saying, I want to be here, blah, blah, blah. We are not really interested in that. Not because it's not interesting, but it doesn't get to the point. Now, what really gets to the point is when she talks to India. This is where we finally get the goodies in this episode, because she asks India. She doesn't ask, do you feel like you showed something different this season than you showed on season 3? Like the same question that she asked to Mayhem. No. She asks, do you feel that Mayhem has shown everything that she has to show? So she's using the word feel. So you ask somebody how they feel about a fact so that they can lash out whatever they have to lash out, because it's a feeling and you need to respect them. But that feeling is about throwing Mayhem under the bus. Do you see where this is going? Do you see what this is going? So, do you feel that Mayhem has shown everything? So, do you feel like throwing Mayhem under the bus? And that doesn't end there, because she goes on and then asks more questions to India. She asked, you felt, and my God, guys, the wording. She's not even with the do you anymore. She's going one step further. She says, you felt like she didn't get in there and get dirty, didn't you? This is everything that all the other questions were, plus it's an affirmative question. I am affirming something and projecting to you as a question. And then she goes on and says, and you feel like you did not hold back at all. My God. My God, these last two things, they are called leading questions. Why are they called leading questions? Because the point is not that they are questions or that they will have an answer. The point is all in the leading. No matter what you're asking, you are already telling a story with your question. And that is what will get to people. That's why leading questions are not allowed during law proceedings. For this exact purpose. Those are leading questions. And believe me when I tell you, she is smart. She is smart. She is smart. Moving on. In the end, we have one confessional from Miz Cracker telling us that India is fighting hard to be here. And then she repeats everything that India answered about her leading questions. So she gives out confirmation. And when we see these confessionals, at this point we know that the editors are 100% on board with whatever is happening on screen. So you know what that means. And we're going to talk about it in a moment when we do the speculation. In the end, we find out that the lip-sync assassin is Morgan McMichaels. She does a really great job. I found that this lip-sync from Cracker was really stiff. It was incredible stiff, but you know, the song was not really her style. She's a campy queen. I have the feeling that this song was already chosen for Morgan to win. But in the end, they found out that the lipstick were the same, and so they thought, you know what, let's give it a double win. It can serve even more purpose of elevating the character of Cracker even more. Because I think this song was really good for Morgan, not for Cracker to win. But in the end, we have this strange double win. Well, I don't know. We have this strange double win with a non-double elimination, because apparently everybody chose the same person to go home. But you know, it was a strange lip sync. It really was a strange lip sync. Although I enjoyed very much to see Morgan again and see that, you know, despite the age, she is a very mature queen. Let's say like this, she can still turn it. And not only a lip sync, she can turn a look quite well, actually. So props up to Morgan. I really hope she's doing great. I was having high hopes when she was on All Stars, but then unfortunately it went the way it went. So, but you know, it was a strange lip sync. I didn't enjoy that. This double win felt really forced. It really felt forced. So Mayhem went home, and that's it. Did she deserve to go home? Well, as usual, it's hard to say. Who knows what really happened? At this point, they're all so talented, and they all put so much effort that at this point, the only thing that I can say is whoever I catch not putting as much effort as anybody else is the one that should go home. So I don't know, but I can tell you something. I'm not enjoying this season. I'm not enjoying what's going on with this season at all. I mean, it's funny to see all these strange things kind of happening behind the scenes. Of course, kind of happening. Yes, in my opinion, kind of happening. But that is enjoyable. But you know, that's a complimentary thing. That's something that is enjoyable as long as the show keeps staying entertaining. I mean, this episode was just horrible. The challenge was horrible. The manipulation was horrible. The editing was terrible. The judging was surreal. I don't know. It was so much. It was so much. You know, after watching this episode, I just wanted to crawl in a hole. That's how bad I felt just by watching it. Now, let's move on to some speculations. These are the queens we are left with. There are 6 queens. And I think that we pretty much have the top 3 and the winner. So, of course, it's a speculation, but you also know that at this point there is not much to speculate about. So if you don't want to hear this, you can tune out for 10 minutes and come back later, or simply stop watching the stream or the video. So, first, who's going to go home next? Well, I think that there is no question that we are basically left with a top 3 and 3 other queens. One is the middle of the package, one is a villain, and the other one is somebody who was supposed to have a redemption edit, but that redemption edit was assigned to somebody else. So, who are they? Well, at this point you know that Cracker is in the top. She cannot not be in the top. After all the favors that the editors have done to her, you know that she's in the top. Who else is in the top with her? Well, look at the background. You are left with the only African American queen in the competition. And you know, and I know, and everybody else know that she's incredible, but we have to look at this from the producer's point of view. And the producer's point of view say that in the age of wokeness, VH1 needs to have representation. So the second person in the top 3 has to be Shay. It has to be Shay. Absolutely. I have no doubt about it. Since season 7, I believe. No, since season 8, we've always had one African American queen in the top, and always never portrayed as a villain. That is something that has remained static during the year, static and consistent, season after season after season. Because from the producer's perspective, these are not people. These are quotas that needs to be filled. So if we're doing predictions, we need to serve our purpose. And this is how we do it. I'm sorry how it sounds. I know it sounds like shit. It is shit. But it is how business works. So this is the second one. Who is the third? Well, judging by the favorable edit and the favorable judging that she's basically had since the very first episode, I have no doubt that the third one, it must be Jujubee. It must be Jujubee. I am not 100% sure that she will be. Part of me also wants, but you know that I have a bias, so you know that it's disclosed. But she's been given pass after pass after pass every time. Remember the first episode, she lip-synced and then she was in the top after she lip-synced. And then the episode after, performance was meh, runway was meh, but then she won. Or was it episode 3 that she won? Yes, it was episode 3, sorry. But then there was episode 2, and everything was meh again. But then she was always, she was always pushed and pushed and pushed. And, I like to see more Jujubee. I'm not complaining, but I also feel sorry for everybody else. Because if you gotta be objective, you gotta be objective. And objectively, it looks like she's being pushed. So for me, she is the third one to be in the top 3. Alternatively, it could also be Alexis Mateo. If they completely go on with her villain edit, she will be a long-lasting villain, a season villain, as we know it. The ones that start in the beginning and go until the very end. She's the finalist villain. So it's either one or the other. That really depends on the amount of drama that comes off. But I think that's pretty much it. So we're basically left with Blair and India. One of the two will go out next, and the other one will follow. It could be any of the two of them. At this point, I would say India, since they constantly put her in the bottom, and Blair was never in the bottom. So I would say it will probably be India. Maybe they will put them both in the bottom, and people will simply say, well, India was always in the bottom, so she will go home, and that's how it's going to end. It could be, I don't know. But, at this point, there is also 6 queens left. It's not that difficult. But who is going to win? And this is the interesting part. Because I don't think that Miz Cracker is going to win. Not after everything that happened. And you know what I'm referring to. And not after the fact that a lot of things about her have resurfaced after being kind of forgotten for a while. And I think that will cost her the crown. I think that she was the one that the producers wanted to win. But I don't think she's going to win at all. So who are we left with? We're left with Shay, Jujubee, or Alexis. Alexis, if she is portrayed as a villain, and she is, she will never win. It doesn't matter if she is 3rd position or 4th position, she will never win. So we're left with Shay and Jujubee. And from a quota perspective, we are missing an Asian queen from the Hall of Fame. So considering also the fact that we had a queen of color, an African American queen, crowned from season 12, the quota says that the next winner has to be an Asian one. So I think that we have our winner, and I am going to call her out as my official prediction that Jujubee is going to be the winner for this season. So we'll see about that. We'll see how right I am. We'll laugh if I'm wrong, cry if I'm right. Absolutely cry if I'm right, because it's dark. It's really dark. But you know, it's business. That's how business works. Now that we have done that, I need to take a couple minutes off. I am not used to talk for so long, even though it's only been 2 weeks, but for some reason I'm still not used to it. I also didn't have much time to actually prepare this stream, and I think it absolutely shows. I didn't have many videos. A lot of times I absolutely lost my, how are they called, my notes. So I need to take a minute pause. Let's see if I can find a little bit of royalty-free music to play in the background so that we don't have absolute silence. And I can go vape alone in the kitchen and get something to drink. Music. How do we feel like? Let's go with... what do we have here? Let's go with Up Above. Did we do that already? I don't remember. But let's do it. I mean, it's okay. It's listenable too. And we're back. We are back. Okay, so let's talk about Miss Relatable. Okay, I see the comments, and this is a huge thing. I think it's a huge thing, and I think a lot of people will try to go along with it because Cracker has a huge following, and we have in our drag race culture that whenever you are saying something that it's not praise, it automatically translates to personal attack. It automatically translates to spreading AIDS. There is absolutely no middle way in which you can just look at facts objectively and talk about them and discuss them and just keep it at that. Every time you say something, it immediately gets taken to the extremes and people start being nasty to this other people online. I like interesting stories. That's what I like. I like stories that can be objectively researched, that you can actually look out for information, and it's not just about this person said this and this other person said that. Okay? Because that is interesting to me. It's interesting to dig and find out things and try to understand what's really going on, because all that I see is what I see online. I have no idea who these people are in the real life. What do they do? Even how they talk. What we see is all social media. What we see is all produced reality television. We really have no idea who these people are. So you have to understand that in a way, even though I like talking about them, I like talking what I think is going on behind the scene, I'm under no impression that I really know who these people are. So I hope that everybody in here completely agrees with the fact that social media is not a place to give feedback or to talk shit about people. So if we want to talk about these things, we can do it. We can do it here. But it makes absolutely no sense to go and contact and give feedback, unwarranted feedback, to these queens of social media who couldn't care less. They couldn't care less. So from my perspective, if I have to contact these people and say something to them, if I have nothing to say to them, nothing nice to say to them, I don't say anything. And I keep on my own business. And I invite all of you, and I'm not talking to the people in the chat. I know big guys. We've been here for months at this point. I know who you are. You know who I am. I'm talking for everybody else listening after the stream is over. But we are going to talk about it. So we have Miz Cracker, aka Miss Relatable. And you can see that she is trying her best to be as relatable as possible. She's the only queen who is doing this kind of facial impressions during the confessionals. And we had so many other comedy queens or campy queens, and none of them is doing it as much as Cracker. Because she knows. She is smart, don't forget that. She is smart, and I'm not saying that because it proves my point. It's a genuine compliment. She knows that confessionals are those moments in which you can establish an emotional, direct connection with the viewers. That is an intimate moment. That is the most important moment. Memes are born in the confessionals. Connections are created during the confessionals time. So she is really doing 110%. Luis Felice, hey bitch. Hey bitch, welcome back. So you see that she is doing 110% to be as relatable as possible during the confessionals. Of course, I'm not buying anything of it. I'm not buying anything of it. Because, her whole storyline started with the assumption that she has a heart of gold, but she is not really good with words, and sometimes she's trying to help someone and ends up hurting them, like it happened with Ongina. And Ongina was hurt. It's not just about what we saw on television, remember that. It's not just about the edit, about the confessional, when she is hangry and saying that Cracker wishes to be Ben de la Creme and so on. It's not just that. It's something that has been going on for months. What we see today was filmed 11 months ago. But this came out last month from Ongina. So she's saying to Miz Cracker, I just want to say that I hope next time you're surrounded by queens, whether it's local stage or a world stage like All Stars, if a queen is feeling nervous, unsure of themselves, or losing confidence, that you can choose to uplift them instead of kicking them while they're already on the ground. This is what she said last month. So you understand that whatever happened in there, it's been with Ongina for the past 10 months at least. Because otherwise she wouldn't have written this. And notice how calm she is in explaining what she's saying. She's not calling her names. She's not attacking her. She's basically saying, I hope that from whatever happened that ended up hurting me, at least as a purpose. And that purpose is teaching you not to do this again. So when I read this, I'm sorry, but I have to relate to my personal life. When I read this, the first thing that I thought was my first failed relationship, where I felt really, really hurt because, I was kind of treated like shit. And the only consolation that I found in that was hoping that the other person learned at least not to do that again. At least you didn't get to go through that in vain. And this is exactly what's coming out for Ongina. And I'm not surprised by this, not in the slightest. We've been knowing Ongina for more than a decade now. We have a pretty good idea of who she is. That's exactly the kind of person that she is. So Ongina published this. She has a heart of gold. And she published this on her own social media, her platform. She didn't go around blabbering. She took her platform, her own social media, and shared a thought. And this is a person with a heart of gold. Now let's look back at Miz Cracker. This is an interview. This is not a platform. This is an interview for a journalist, for a publication. And what is she saying this? Reacting to Asia O'Hara when she called her not a star. Well, Cracker's reaction was, of course, Asia is a cunt. Asia is a cunt. You see when I talk about lack of coherence? Asia is a cunt. And not only she's a cunt, but she doesn't have as much Instagram followers as I have. Do you see the same things that I'm seeing? If she tripled, she's not saying that she has more Instagram followers than Asia. She's saying that she has 3 times as much follower. So there is not just the burn, the injury. There is the burn afterwards as well. You are a cunt. I have more followers than you, and I have 3 times as much followers than you. And I am supposed to believe, and this is something that I know. This is something that we've seen before. Now tell me, how is it possible that you are a person with a heart of gold who doesn't know how to use her words? And it doesn't end up here. Because then, this by the way, this came from Reddit. I have to, I'm sorry I didn't, whoever posted this on Reddit, I'm sorry I didn't sign your username to quote you. But this came from Reddit. From the r/rpdr cringe Reddit, which by the way has a ton of receipts. And then she continues, this is still an interview, these are different interviews. This is not just one isolated instance. It's not one thing that you say, okay, it happened once. No, it didn't happen once. It happened 3 times. It happens 3 times. And she calls Asia statistically wrong. What does she mean by statistically? Well, of course, she's talking about social media following. She's saying, quote, like, it's so hurtful to me to see Asia being so far behind me in social media following. Look at the wording. I'm insulting you, but it's all about me. It's so hurtful to me to see Asia be behind in social media following. And you are telling me you are clueless about words and wording. I mean, and this, this happened 2.5 years ago. It didn't happen 15 years ago. This is recent. There is no chance that Cracker got dementia in the middle and forgot how to use words and wording. Do you see how much is loaded in this sentence? It's so hurtful to me. I am a sensitive person, and while I'm sensitive, I'm trying to be helpful toward you by showing empathy, because you are behind me in social media following. And she continues, quote, I just have so much sympathy for her right now. Really? Really? Are we fucking reading the same thing? I'm sorry. Okay? I am sorry because I know that some people will look at this and go and type and inconvenience Miz Cracker because of this. But I cannot just shut up because people do not have self-control or do not know how to behave socially, especially on social media. Because these are real articles and these are real things that are out there and anybody can read. And they tell a story, which is a very clear story. And it's there, and I'm going to talk about it. And I'm not going to be silenced, because if you talk, then other people are responsible for themselves. I'm responsible for myself and to a certain extent to the people who come here and actually follow this show and know what we are doing, how we are doing it, and what's the purpose in doing it. That's as far as I go, no more. And then she continues. This is the cherry on top. And I quote again, Asia, this is how you get to create relatable drag. She knows how to create relatable drag. This kind of relatable drag. So, you have to understand that once you start digging into the rabbit hole, you find so many things. And all these things tell you one story at the very end. They tell you one story and one only. Cracker is showing incoherence. Whatever she's trying to sell to us is not the same thing, but she's actually contradicting herself. She's doing this inside the season itself, inside of All Stars itself, which is what prompted me to actually go out there and look for receipts and look for things, because she was incoherent within All Stars. And that incoherence is carried out once you start looking out and start looking at things. Because anything can be said about her, but you cannot say that she doesn't have incredible verbal abilities. Even I understand that. And I am not even native English speaking. Even I understand all of that. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's just the tip of the iceberg, because then there is this article that came out 3 years ago. And I cannot begin to describe what's going on with this article. I suggest you look at the title, you can Google it, you can go and read it for yourself. You can go and read it for yourself. What I can best describe this article as is propaganda for for something that I cannot avoid calling sexual assault. I'm sorry, but I cannot avoid calling that. When you do something to someone without their consent, there is no middle way about it. It's assault, point blank. So what this article looks to me, it's propaganda for it. And it's disgusting. It's honestly disgusting. So I will do a video about this, because it's interesting. It's not because it's interesting in bashing. It's interesting in the mental gymnastic that goes on in this article, written by yours truly, Miss Relatable and Miss Storyline. But we are going to take a look at the mental gymnastic. And it's pretty incredible. And of course, I must stress it out. It is my opinion. But what it looks to me is that this person is doing the best of their abilities to try to justify what I believe is one of their personal kinks. Which is very, if it's true, it's extremely unethical for somebody who is, you know, supposed to be a journalist. At least in this article. Well, it's disgusting. And we're going to go through it. We are. We absolutely are. For, you know, for many reasons. But, well, it's not like I get pleasure of doing this kind of things, but you also have to understand something. You cannot always be nice to everyone. You cannot always understand everyone. You and me as well, we are limited people with limited mental resources. We are not all Mother Teresa. I don't have the mental resources to always justify everyone, to always try to understand everyone. It's mentally fatigue. It's mental fatigue. You know, every time you have to dig, every time you have to try to understand what's going on, and you can do it to a certain limit. You know, if you do this to the extreme, then you end up justifying basically everything, even the worst thing going on in the world. You end up justifying them if you follow this train of thoughts. If you really try to understand everything about everyone. So, you know, as humans, we always have a limit and say, I will not go as far as this. So, for example, and I will make you an example at the limit, okay? It has nothing to do with this. It's just so that we understand each other's. For me, I don't care if people have been raised violently. If the only language that they understand is aggression, not because they are devils, but that's because the only thing that they've been exposed to during their whole life. I understand that, but I don't tolerate it. So I don't care if, you know, somebody is being violent towards somebody else because that's the only thing that they know. That I will not tolerate, even though I understand it. Okay, that's where my limit is. And this is the same thing. Whenever you're trying, whenever your action are pushing something with such extreme consequences as unprotected sex, let's call it how it is, it's too much. It's too much. So we're going to talk about this. I don't know if we are going to do it in a live stream or if I'm making a video about it. I haven't decided yet. But, you know, we are going to talk about it. Now, damn, that was hard. Let's move on to some of the comments, shall we? Oh my god. Guys, do you have questions? Do you have things that you want to know about the channel, or, you don't know, want opinion, want an heads up on the project that we're doing? Whatever you want, throw it out. Throw it out. I still have about, let's say, an hour or so. So let's have a kiki. We have Luis Felipe, hey bitch. That's how we call each other. Kayu Kamada. If you see something, you say something. Yes. Yes, that's the point. Luis Felipe, no surprise that the majority of the villains' confessionals are negative comments about Outer Queens. Oh, I lost that. When was it? 15 minutes ago. What was I talking about? I have no idea. Kylie Wilson, my last relationship was like that. But the ex is such a douche that I don't expect him to learn anything from it other than women are crazy. Well, it's, I don't know the circumstances. I have no idea, but I know how it feels. I know how it feels. Uh, it feels kind of shit whenever you've been treated like shit, and that's not just your perception. Okay, you've come to the conclusion that it's not a matter of perception; it's an objective fact, and you can do nothing about it. Sometimes you're trying to hang on the fact that maybe people will understand, but I understand what you mean. Some people they will never understand. They don't want to understand. At some point, you also realize that if they wanted to understand, they probably would have understood already. Kaio Kamada, the hypocrisy, yes. Yes, I mean, those interview, I was like, what? I mean, is this the same person? Because you have to understand, I saw Miz Cracker from her season, and I thought, well, I was expecting more in a way. I was left with, well, I was expecting a little bit more, but it's not bad. And then I followed her review with a Jew on YouTube. And I liked it. And I thought, why the hell are people bashing out on this person? She's having a good time. She's making a show. So, okay, I get it. Of course, it's not top-notch comedy. She is not Bianca Del Rio. But, I mean, what's the problem with it? She's having fun. It's a good show. It's a nice thing. And that's it. And that's where I was. Because I really don't use social media. I don't really follow this, whatever is going on with social medias at all. I don't like that it gives you this false impression of knowing people and makes you feel like you have the liberty to talk to these people and at some point, yes, even give unwarranted feedbacks and suggestions and so on. I tend to fall for that. So since I know that, I completely avoid the issue altogether and try not to get comfortable and not to develop a feeling of intimacy with these people, because at the end of the day, if one day I have something to say that it's not a compliment in and on itself, it will sum up with all the other shit that these people have to get on social media already. So everything that I knew from Miz Cracker was this. And then I started to see what happened with Angina and the inconsistencies in the show. And then I said, wait a moment, there is something here. Let me dig around a little bit. Let me see what I can find. And lucky for me, there are a lot of people on Reddit that keep track of these things. So my job becomes extremely easier because most of the material is already there. I don't have to work Google that much. With the contracts and everything else, yes, then it's more difficult. Then I actually have to do my own research. But when it comes to things like this, things that are more drama-like, let's call them like this, there are tons of receipts out there. So I was kind of surprised. I was kind of shocked, honestly, to find out such misuse of the human intellect. I don't know how else to define it, because when you are smart like that and you use it in that way, it's a pity. It's really a pity, because there are a ton of people out there that are just average and they are doing their best, the best they can, and not going anywhere because they're just average. And that's what you're doing with your gift. Anyway. Luis Felipe said, the bitch was haunted. Get her, Jade. Yeah, for what? For what? I don't get it. I don't get it. What does it even mean? You are not a star. What does it even mean to be a star today? Once to be a star, you had to really be a television star or a singer star or whatever it was. But today, stars means everything and means nothing. I mean, in the age of social media, when you think about it, there are conventional stars who have less followers than people who basically nobody knows in real life. And they are stars. So, I mean, what does it even mean? Why do you have to get angry about it? It's like, It's like, I don't know, if people would come to me and say, well, you have a flat personality. What does it even mean? It means nothing. What's I don't know. Whatever. Kayo Kamada. By the way, Asia is one of the queens that always hosts every RuPaul's Drag Race event that Ru can be at. Who is behind? I'm misreading that. Asia is the one queen that always hosts every RPDR event that Ru can't be at. I don't understand the question. I'm sorry. Kylie Wilson, the last one is a borderline microaggression. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. To me, I call that passive aggression. It works just because, in every person that's not really paying attention, or it's kind of simple-minded, if it's passive, it's not aggression. When in reality, passive aggression is some of the most aggressive kind of behavior that I see around. Some of the very worst kind of aggressive behavior. Sometimes, when you see people talking like that, sometimes I wish that instead of talking to me like that, would just slap me in the face. It would be easier. It would be much easier. So, it's not that micro to me. Luis Felipe says, if you're nice to everyone, you'll never win RuPaul's Drag Race. That's true. That's not the kind of game that you win by being nice. Cracker is very good in understanding the game, and you see that she's not really being very nice. She is trying to sell out the appearance of being nice. And I say sell out the appearance because at this point, I'm starting to realize that Miz Cracker might be the only person who has a storyline, or at least had a storyline, who was realistic to the person that she really is. Because everything about her looks calculated 110%. Everything. Whenever I see something, I see the wheels. How do you say the mechanics running in her mind? Whenever she does something, whenever she sees something, you can always spot that pause that was taken to think for a moment about it. And of course, when you see these kind of things happening over and over and over again, and see what the end purpose of it was, it kind of becomes difficult not to see the shadiness behind it. Because most of the time, sometimes people simply take a pause to actually think in what they want to say, how they want to word it. I do it quite often, actually. But if you deceive by profession, then of course everybody's going to assume that you're thinking when you take a pause, it's because you're thinking how to go on with your deception. So that's the perception I'm left with. Montana Banana, how do you think Snatch Game will go? Will they have Snatch Game with 6 queens? Well, 6 queens is actually a good number. They could have done it with 8 queens. I don't know. We know Jujubee is great, but I'm really curious about India. She's the one I'm most curious about. Because she's being so surprising in the runway, and I would really like to see, at least I hope that she sticks around as much to be in the Snatch Game, to see how she does. Other than that, Miz Cracker is in it's how do you call it? How do you say it? It's her thing. It's comedy, it's her thing. I think she will absolutely excel it, and maybe even win. If we don't have a standout like Blair, for example, or India, I think Cracker will definitely win the Snatch Game. She is the most prepared for it. Let's be real about it. That's a challenge that she basically has in the bag. Dixie, I want to hear about the projects that you're working on. That's a good question, because every time I try to complete a project, something immediately pops up. And then there is always something, and they'd end up thinking and saying, oh wait, I can do something with this, and then something happens, oh no, I can do something like that. So the projects are ongoing projects. So I'm going to open the folders that I have with all the scripts and parts and things that I have in here, and get ready, because I have like 15 videos and all of them are at a different stage of development. So we have, let me scroll a moment with the other questions. So let's see if I can group everything. You can see teaser for next episode, Sasha. Okay. Okay, let's go with this. We had prepared a video with Gigi Zero Headed, if you remember that. And it was supposed to come out like 3 weeks ago. In the meantime, everything happened. So the one video has become a trilogy. Yes, you heard it right. It has become a trilogy. One part of that video didn't come out yet. It will come out, because at this point I don't give a fuck. But at the time, I didn't dare to pull it out. And that's what we talked about in the last stream. In the third hour of the last stream, where nobody could hear that. That's when we had that. That is one of the video. Then we have another video that will be Gigi Zero Headed, and the third video will be about if Gigi really filmed the video that we saw in a studio. So we are really going to go absolutely overboard with it and start talking about lights and perspectives and shadowing and doing all that kind of things, to trying to crack the fact, did she or did she not film in the studio? What we saw was at least part filmed in a studio. So this old Gigi thing, it has become a trilogy. Meanwhile, so I'm trying to decide how to put out these 3 videos one after the other so that they make sense together, because sometimes you talk about something and then you missed a step before. So we have this trilogy waiting there. Then we have the video about Miz Cracker. This is absolutely not prepared. I have all the material, but I don't have the script. I don't have the voiceover. I don't have nothing yet. I don't even know how much will we pay if we actually publish that. Because, one way or the other, despite how we word it, despite what we are trying to do, you know that it's something is going to happen. It's absolutely impossible that nothing is going to happen. So then there is that. Then we have on the partially prepared, we have a video about Jocelyn Fox, a celebration of a run on Drag Race with some updates in what she's been doing since Drag Race. For that video, I have all the materials. Everything is already indexed. I'm missing the script, voiceover, and the editing. Then we have editing fails, which I cannot call fails anymore, because if I use the word fail, Google will demonetize the video. And if they demonetize the video, they do not push the video out anymore. That's the worst of it. I don't give a shit about the money. We've been without money on this challenge for ages. I don't care about the money from one video. But if you've seen with when fans go too far, when they demonetized it, it absolutely went flatlined. So I was thinking maybe I will call it another way, or maybe some videos I simply not monetize to begin with, so that Google cannot do this thing of monetize, not monetize, and basically treat it more objectively. This is something that I can try, so we'll see about that. But that video is completely, almost completely finished. I have all the materials, half of the editing is done. There is not much to comment about, because it comments by itself, but that video was a ton of work, because I also had artwork made in Photoshop for that video. But that, again, it's incompleted. I would say it's about 50%. Then we had a future celebration video, which is something amazing. For me, it's amazing. It will come out when we hit 50,000 subscribers. But I'm already working on it, because I have to have it there. It's so time consuming. I've been preparing these videos for the past 6 months on and off. It's stupid. It's really stupid, but it's fun. It's going to be really, really fun. So, and that is being prepared as well. Then we have for the series When Queens Go Too Far. I have materials for 5 queens. I don't know if it's enough for a video, but then we have a whole video about Nina West. And for that, I have already all the materials. Point is, I have no script yet. So that is there. Then we have a video about the Queen of Live Shows. It's a video about Bianca. For that, I have the material. For that, I have a script, but I didn't edit anything yet. And you're starting to see a pattern. You're starting to see a pattern here. That I have a lot of script, but I have no editing. And that is because when it comes to the script, there are 2 people that actually work on it. But when it comes to edit, I am the bottleneck. I am the one who is not working. Because I am the editor. So, materials we have, script we have, but then, the editors is not editing. That's the problem. The fucking editor is not editing. Then we had how the Queens of All Stars outsmarted producers. And we're going to talk about the matter of power in All Stars. This was supposed to be an episode of The Chop. We talked about part of it in the live stream, but we never really go into extreme detail about it. And this is the video about it. For that, there is all the material, part of the script, and then again, no editing. Then we have a video about villain edits again, and we're going to transform a queen, a beloved queen, into a villain. That brings on a ton of editing because you have to research basically the whole season, have all the moment indexed, and then you have to start mashing up audio and videos in order to basically reverse what the editors did when they produced the materials in the first place. So we will have to start putting shady noises someplace. We'll have to start putting compliments in other place. We'll have to start misplacing confessionals and creating sentences. So we're basically going to take a very beloved queen and transform her into an absolute villain to show the power of the villain edit. And that video is a ton of work. This video won't be out for ages because it really takes rewatching the whole season and taking notes of everything in the whole season. Because if you gotta do a video like that, to make a point, you have to do it flawlessly. People have to look and say, oh my God, it looks so real. Because if people look at that and think, oh my God, it's so real, then the next time they watch the show, they will really think, wait a moment, did this really happen or is it fake? So that video will have to be absolutely flawless, which means it's one of those videos that takes 200, 300, 400 hours of work. This won't be out for sure in the next 6 months. It will never happen that it will be out. If I do that, I have to do only that in all the free time that I have. So expect that in a matter of a year. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but there is only me and there's only me in my free time. And even if YouTube actually paid the bills, I wouldn't absolutely dare to rely on YouTube for paying the rent. You've seen how YouTube is. You cannot do YouTube full time if you don't have already won at the game of YouTube. So once you hit 1 million subscribers, yes, at that point you can leave your job and do this for a living. But until that point, you know YouTube is. Today you're monetized, tomorrow you're not. Today this video is not monetized. It's crazy. So at least it's going to be like this for a little while. Then we have another video. We're going to talk about Pearl. For this video, I have the material as well. I have half of the script. I have no editing done. And that's a video about how I changed my mind with Pearl. And we're going to dig into her past, see the kind of life that she had, bring on some interviews that she did, the way she's been defiant toward the editors in season, the way she's been defiant out of the season. It's more of a documentary like. This is one of those kind of projects that takes so much material that I'm actually waiting to have a proper computer so that I can mesh this kind of videos that take a lot of effort and I can do it much, much faster. And instead of taking 6 months, it takes 2 months. So this is one of the videos that I'm waiting for. Then what else do I have? We have the Lip Sync Awards, which is a video that I abandoned because of copyright claims. Then we have a video about the genius behind the Boulet brothers. I have half of the script done for that, but not all the materials. And it's about Dragula. Then I have a top 10 cringe moments, which I have to update because I had all the materials and then last episode came out, so that's going to go in the top 10. And then I have ideas for videos which are not really going on, but I mean, they're not really completed. I either don't have the material, or I don't even have a beginning of a script or an idea of where to go. They're just really ideas that I put there and say, oh wait, this would be interesting to do. So then I have a video about the queens that were robbed, the most robbed queens. Why, how, from the edit, or robbed from other queens, or robbed by her emotions getting the best of them. It's a more simple-minded video, if we want, a more easygoing videos, more digestible, because you have to have a little bit of variety. You cannot be serious 100% of the time. At some point you have to be a little bit easy and a little bit silly. And then we have a video about the queens who will never be on All Stars for one reason or the other. So we're going to look at the reasons of why they will never be on All Stars. What happened, and who can change their mind and why, who has already changed their mind. And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be more on the behind the scenes. So this is all the projects. There is more. I have actually more stuff, but it's in a very, very early stage of development, so I don't really mention it. So you see, you start when you hear all of this, you see a pattern, and the pattern is I cannot work on one thing. I can absolutely not, because I get bored. If this was a job. You have to be professional with a job, so you start something and you end it. But when it's something that you enjoy, if you don't feel like it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to push it, because if you do, you will stop enjoying it. So I completely embraced this way of doing things, and that's why I start different things at different times, and it works for us. It works really well, because despite everything that's happened in the last 3 years, we're still here, we're still pushing out content, most of the time not very successful, but when our videos are successful, they are extremely successful. So this is how we do things. I took like half an hour talking about that. That's how self-centered I am. That's how self-centered I am. Let's go back to the comments. Luis Felipe, what about Gigi's hero edit video? We talked about that. Sasha, have you guys seen the teasers for next episode? No. It seems like we're gonna know about the... Oh, I don't want to read this. No. Don't want to read this. Move up. Okay. Sorry, but it's how can I say? It's not like a spoiler, but it takes away from the fun. Sometimes they do this in the episode, and especially when it gets to the end of the episode, sometimes they put in the preview for the next episode. I don't want to see it. Especially if I haven't finished working on the live stream. Because it already messes up with the prediction, it already messes up with everything that you can gain from the episode. So I basically established a rule that at best we're going to talk about the last episode and Untucked if I manage to get my hands on Untucked. And that's it. Fantasia, yes, Sasha can't wait to see what we're talking about. Oh, it was okay. Luis Felipe, I think the gagging elimination will happen next episode. You know what will really be a gag? If any of the queens that I mentioned in the top 4 will go home next episode. That would really be a gag. Luna Honeymoon, they are doing the snatch game of... Okay, well, I don't like the Snatch Game of Love. I don't like it. I mean, if something works, why change it? Why change it? If it works, why change it? Why the Snatch Game? With so much that they could have done, you know, if they wanted to change and spice things up, they could have done something like the Wheel of Kink. You know the show that, well, you have to turn the wheel and then you get prizes and then you have to guess some stupid I mean, there are so many stupid television shows that you can use to make fun of. You know, that love game is just not. I don't know. I don't like it. You see how excited I am? That's how excited I am. Fantasia said it's the Snatch Game of Love next week. Then Rue threw her a little bit. Oh no! I read it. Shit, I read it. Kaio Kamada, fun fact: every queen that has done a male character for a Snatch Game has won. Oh, look at you! Look at you! What a a relatable queen, Kaio. Citing facts is very relatable. Now tell me how you feel about it. Sasha, Kaio, not Thorgy. Oh, that's true. Kylie Wilson, I love the level of effort in these videos. Yes, it's far too much. It's far too much, you know. Kylie, since you gave us a compliment, I will bask in the compliment and give you back with some truth. When I think about for example, when I was preparing this screenshots for this live stream today, basically what happens is that our life has gone basically back to normal. So the time that I had to actually prepare the live stream was only Sunday, only today. So I had to rush to actually do this because Saturday is our day, is for us. You know, we spend time together, we do things in our we enjoy our free time, you know. And so only Sunday is for the channel. And at some point, I was so frustrated with my laptop that I almost smashed whatever I had on the desk. I threw something away, not really hard. I was not that hangry, but I was kind of upset because it got blocked and I didn't save my data. And so all the images that I made in Photoshop, I was risking losing them, which was about 2 hours of work. And I got so angry about it. And when I thought about, you know, people that just take 10 screenshots and make viral videos with it, and they get tons of money, I felt so jealous. I really felt so jealous. I was like, fuck, I want that. I want that. Not for the money itself, for what it brings with it, you know, for proper equipment. And I feel so jealous about it. I mean, in a good way, you know. I'm happy for them that they managed to actually turn a good profit while not working that hard. But you know, what happens to us is that we spent not thousands but hundreds of hours to make a video, and then the video is demonetized by YouTube. Or we're not even in the partner program. So like it happened for the past year, you know. It's frustrating. When you look at it that way, it's frustrating. But so this is a little bit of truth. Bare truth. But you know, it's also a matter of having fun doing it, you know. I could not put low effort video out there. It's just I cannot. If I want to make a point, I have to try to make it at the best of my abilities. And if I don't know how to make it, I have to learn how to make it. If it's that important. I have to learn how to make it. Because otherwise, how the hell am I going to bring my vision to life? You know? If I don't, for example, when I did the shady editing videos, you know, you have a moment in which you see, for example, me taking and creating these animations in which I take pictures Fifi O'Hara and put those pictures on the side of the screen so that you are sure that it's not being manipulated, and then pull it back up, reanimate it, and put them side by side. That is something that I learned to do, but if I didn't learn how to do it, would you have taken my word for it? You know? But if I wanted to make that point, I had to know how to do that. And so I cannot not put effort in it, but I'm also very jealous of people who make good videos, you know, famous videos without not that much effort, because it means that they can make 30. And if 15 of them are not monetized, they still get to get some income for the channel. That it's okay. We came to terms with it. Moving on. Lisbeth Paulino, I actually smiled when you said that the original videos is becoming a trilogy, because it means more of your amazing oh my god, come on. Don't feed my ego so much. You really put a lot of effort in everything, and I super appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate when other people see it as well. You know, there is nothing sadder than putting a lot of effort into doing something, genuinely believing that it's a good thing, and nobody gets to see it. That's the worst of it. That's like my worst nightmare. My worst nightmare. Mrs. G, I can't wait. I hope you can. I hope you can. If it keeps going like this, you know, where I'm basically having my mental period every 2 weeks, these videos are never going to come out. I have to get a grip. Kylie Wilson, I really want to see when Queens go to Farvid. Yes, you know, I think we're going to lose a ton of subscribers when we do something like that. We're going to do it. We are going to do it because it's an interesting story, but that's the best case scenario. Worst case scenario, the fans of these queens will start flagging the channels, which means more strikes. So I will tell you, Kylie, I will tell you what I will do. We will talk about these things in the streams, which are very low-key. Nobody watches the streams, so it's between us. And we can basically, you know, it feels kind of a safe space. So we can do this here. Then we will publish other videos first, and then put one of the series of When Queens Go to Far Out. See how it goes. Give it like 6 weeks, 2 months, get a general idea if we can do that kind of content without losing the channel. And if we can, we will continue. If we cannot, we will talk about it in the streams. So, you know, it's a win-win. Fantasia, oh my god, you're busy. You have no idea how much. You have no idea how much. It's mostly that I have many hobbies that I enjoy because I am unable to just enjoy one. I get bored with it. So, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was working some wood for the Cage of Marble, which is finished, by the way. I took a video of it, and of course, I didn't edit it so that I can actually show you guys what I was doing instead of editing videos. But Marble greatly appreciates it. She is really, she's so cute. It goes up and down, this thing. It's really cute. I'm going to show you next week. But yes, I try to do a little bit of everything. It's so much, you know. It's so much. Sometimes I wish we had days like with 30 hours. Luis Felipe, you know there's a problem when the editor isn't editing. Yes, I know. But can I also tell you something? While it's true that in the past few weeks I basically did the bare minimum because I only did research, and I didn't do any editing, my consumption of a stimulant went dramatically down. So I had like in 2 weeks, I had like 3 energy drinks, 2 or 3 coffees every day, instead of the usual 4 or 5, which is still good because Mr. Invisible is up to the dozens. That's how much coffee he drinks. And the nicotine in my electronic cigarette is basically going to 0. I was on a downward trend with the nicotine in order to completely take it out of my system. And let me check. I will be completely phased out of nicotine in a week. So it took 2 months to phase out the nicotine after I quit smoking. But I'm still very proud of it. I'm still at least as bad as it can be. I quit the cigarette. I don't know how long it will last. If we look back, not long. Not long. But, this is the very first that I basically have no nicotine in the electronic cigarette. This is the first time. When I quit smoking last year, that lasted for, I think, 5 weeks. I still had so much nicotine inside. I wasn't even trying to phase it out. This time I really put my foot down and told myself, you have to achieve something. In this month, you absolutely have to. You need the motivational thing of achieving something. So I quit smoking. I'm not seeing very many benefits. I have to be honest, but it also could be that, I'm just not looking for them because I want an excuse to say, well, no. Fantasia, I was to see that one queen outsmarting producers. Oh, I want to see. Yes, it's kind of interesting, but we talked about it. It's basically about reclaiming the power on All Stars. We talked about it in the last stream. But it's kind of interesting to see it when one thing is talking about it in the live stream, and the other thing is having the whole concept contained in a 10-minute video with a clear message that it's well edited and goes straight to the point, because it's just 2 different formats. And also the vast majority of the subscribers for the channel, they like short videos. They don't really like live streams. So live streams are for us. This is our space where we get to overtalk about everything. But at some point, you also have to have these more videos for 90% of the actual viewers of the channel who are like, what's going on? Where is the content? We are down to one videos every 6 weeks. So there will always be the newest content, the new things that we do will always be on the live stream first. Simply because it's much easier to talk about it and have some simple screenshots than to edit the full videos. So in a way, for everyone who joins the live stream, you will always have, the content before everybody else. Fantasia said, that's a great idea of the beloved queens being transformed. Which queens are you thinking? That's a surprise. So we will see about that. We will see about that. Also because, there is not much to the video yet. We don't even have the full top 10. So it's not really ready. It's not. I'm not really teasing you. It's not really ready. Kylie Wilson says, Pearl Smash. Dixie retracted a message. Dixie, you're doing that so much. What are you saying? Luis Felipe, Bianca would make a great villain edit. You called her out, and I am confirming that. The video is about Bianca. She is about Bianca. That's how I envisioned it the first time. Okay? It could be somebody else as well. I was actually thinking about, some typically, how can you say, kind-hearted queens, that would actually send the message with more contrast, like Ivy Winters, for example. But I have to actually check how much materials I have. With Bianca, I know that I have all the materials, and I can find everything that I need. With Ivy, it's going to be more of a challenge, but it's also going to strike people much more to see Ivy portrayed as a complete villain. it's going to really get the message. It's going to have a huge shocking value, you know, because with Bianca you are used to her saying the kind of shit that she says. She is an insult comic after all, so you're kind of used to it. But with Vaidi, it's really out of the blue. So I really have to make a mental note and go back to the material and see what's actually doable and what's not doable. Dixie, I never dreamt you had all these wonderful things in works. Yes, you know, most of the time I have to write things down, you know. I am not like my partner. I cannot hold to my thoughts. So I need to create a folder. I work on my computer is the editing computer. So I need to create a folder, open a file, writing everything down. And you start to realize that when you are forgetful like me and you start writing everything down, then the ideas simply come a little bit of the time at the time. It's like a stream of ideas, you know. It would be nice to do this, it would be nice to do that, and you add a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow, and after 2 to 3 months you have a fantastic and complete vision that it's basically there, and you almost don't understand how did you even manage to create it all by yourself, you know. At least that's what happened to me when, for example, when I did the Midnight in the Library video. I look back at it and say, how did you come out with it? It's so strange, you know. So in a way, so many things are mixed up together, like the fake advertisement and the shooting animation and the special game level, and there's so many, you know. That's how it's done. It's a little piece of the time. If you come out, at least for me, if I come out today and say, okay, I have to think about a new idea, make a new script, and edit a new video, and it will have to be out in 2 weeks, it will be complete shit. That's how it works. You know, I can only work like this, a little bit at the time, add ideas as long as they come, be creative as long as you feel creative, and, you know, in the 15 to 20 videos that I have here, at some point, one of them will be completed, and that one will be published. Sergio Bidola, I think I'm really late to the party. Oh yes, like a couple hours late to the party. But I will enjoy this episode. I hope you don't get more problems with your channel. I really enjoy your videos. Thank you. I hope that as well. I hope that as well. Because every time, you know, it's discouraging. It's discouraging because this channel is supposed to be a way for us to be creative and put our thoughts out there and share them with other people, and that's about it. It's not a way of making money, at least not for the sake of making money. It's not a job. It's not, how can I say, an obligation. Okay, it's a thing that it's been done for fun, and if it can manage to pay for itself, even better. But you know, if it stops being fun because you realize that the channel is sandboxed and nobody watches the videos because they're not getting suggested, that it's going to become a problem. Then you start to have an idea and you want to do something, but you cannot do that because you think maybe you will get a copyright claim on that. And maybe some copyright claim might become full-blown strikes with video taken down, and then you risk losing the channel, and it adds more stress, and it's not fun when it's all like this. YouTube doesn't make it easy for people like us to just be creative. Because if I just be creative, then I get a copyright claim because of music. Then I get a copyright strike because something, it's not really a parody, but it's also not copyright infringement. But you get a strike anyway. You know, and depending on what you do, at some point, I mentioned this before, you actually have to pay for a consultation with a lawyer. So it's money that it's coming out of your pocket. Not this time with the last video, because the channel was monetized, so we had enough. But before it had to. It had to. Not to add the additional stress that you can actually, it's a real possibility, you are challenging basically someone else to sue you. How the fuck can you be creative like that? So I really hope that we got most of the things in our back. We can go back to have fun doing our little things. If it pays for itself, fantastic. I don't give a shit as long as the channel is not sandboxed. This is the only thing that I really, really care about. That if I spend 100, 200 hours editing for a videos, that at least people get to see them. At least people get to see them and enjoy them. That's the thing that really hurts me if it doesn't happen. Everything else, it's second nature. Second nature is that it's second. It's not really important. Because we have some videos, some videos, most of the videos backed up on BitChute, but they get no views because nobody is on BitChute. Who watches them there is basically people who come to the stream and know that they are there and they say, okay, I want to rewatch it. But there are people, if you go on YouTube and write in the search bar the 10 lip sync, YouTube will automatically suggest you that the next word is commandments. That is our video that came out 2 years ago and was taken out 1.5 years ago. That's how good that video did. But nobody watches it on BitChute. I went behind 20 minutes in the comment. Damned. Dixie, I always wanted to know why Eva Destruction was never on Drag Race. That's an interesting question. But that's not really what the video is about. It's not about the queen that will not be on Drag Race. It's about the queens that will never be on All Stars Drag Race. So I don't know if maybe I forgot to say that before. That could be. Ivan Dominguez, what do you think about Drag U? It was so underproduced. I watched like 2 or 3 episodes. I couldn't watch more because it felt so manipulative to me. It felt so like RuPaul didn't really give a shit about these women at all. They were trying to get into a market that wasn't really there. They were right with targeting women. They just didn't target the right age. They should have gone with teenage girls, which happened afterwards. But it was good to see the queens back. I think I watched 4 or 5 episodes. Some clips here and there. At some point it was even difficult to actually find the show online. But generally I didn't really like it. Kaio Kamada, at this point the Snatch Game is the best part of Drag Race. Yeah, I mean, it used to be the cherry on top, but at this point it's basically the only good part of this Drag Race season of All Stars. I hope so, because everything we've seen so far was so subpar, Why do they bring out so much Drag Race? In 2019, they had to do Drag Race, the season 12. Then they had to do All Stars. Then they had to do Secret Celebrity Drag Race. Then they had to do Drag Race UK. It was too much. And you can see in the quality went so much down because they worked, it looked like they worked twice as much, but without hiring twice as much people to work on it, or at least not quality people, because everything really, really went downhill in the last year. It was such a pity to see a show like Drag Race being serviced so badly by being misproduced. It's really a pity. Lisbeth Paulino, me when Top RPDR Videos does something. The level of professionalism far too much. Thank you. Thank you. It warms me up. My God, I'm such a compliment whore. Dixie, there is no doubt in my mind that your hard work and dedication is going to bring you great success. I don't think so. There are so many talented people out there who are absolute nobodies. You know, much more talented than us. Not only in creativity, but also in editing, and nobody sees them. You know, it's nice. You are a nice person to think that, but you know, reality is the way it is. It is the way it is. But you know, as long as we have our time during the stream, that you know, we get to unwind and do our thing, and whatever we create gets out there and people see it. That's good enough. We don't need millions of views and millions of subscribers and be famous and successful and blah 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 and blah. Who gives a shit? When you have enough to feel good about it, that's enough. That's enough. Kaio Kamada, just between us squirrel friends. Was there a question? Did you forget something? Dixie, your mental period every 2 weeks. I can relate. Montana Banana, why would you put on a season of All Stars? Who would you put on a season of All Stars if you could pick? That's a good question. That's a good question. I like it. Well, I would produce a completely different season of All Stars. Nobody goes home. All Stars is the moment where you see the queens that you love. So the most you keep them on screen, the more the viewers are going to view. Because you know, if there are a lot of viewers who go like, I absolutely love this queen and I don't care about anybody else, and they stop watching when the queen goes home. So that's All Stars. I would create a complete different format so that you get to keep all the queens all the time. You know? Maybe I wouldn't make a point thing because it sounds too mathematical. It takes out the fun of it. Start talking points, you know. Also, drag is art, and if you start giving point, somehow you are, you know, taking away from the subjectiveness of it. You know, it's not science; it's art. But it would be interesting to find a way to actually score them, so that in the end you can actually decide a winner. But I would absolutely keep them all in there. And I would move from a storyline production to character production. To a character with different talents. So, for example, instead of having a season in which you have somebody who is the hero and has to fight against the villain, and somebody who didn't do very well but is talented and has to fight in order to express his talents and so on. This is a storyline based production. I would like to have one completely talent based. So you would have episodes in which it's all about making dresses. You would have episodes in which it's all about acting, for example. And the queens will actually immerse themselves into the meaning of acting something out. The weirdness of having to utter lines that you think are completely stupid, and the way they impact you, and the way you have to work around it in order to get these things out and get the job done. Not only because it's interesting by itself, but it's also educational, and most important of all, it's entertaining. And I would do this for every different talent. So you will have an episode about making parodies, how the making of parodies work, how comedy works, how drag comedy works, and what's the history behind it, what's the meaning of the message, how was this instrument used in the last 40 to 50 years inside the roots of the heart of drag in order to convey political messages. You know, I would do all of this with the All Stars season, not the normal season, the All Stars one, when people are really paying attention. And it would be interesting. I mean, if anyone with ties with VH1 or World of Wonder wants to take these ideas and implements them, by all means do it. Do it. I'm honored. You know, I'm not like, oh, this is my idea, so nobody can. No. Do it. Do it. It will improve the quality. Do it. It would be extremely interesting, you know, because you really have. I don't think people really understand how much talent and effort there is behind the Heart of Drag. It's so time consuming. You have no idea. You have no idea. It's so much going on, and we have stopped getting a glimpse of that, and that's what made this show so great. But then again, when you belong to such a big company and go on such a big network like VH1, the key word is profits with minimal efforts. So, and I overtalked again. Next up. Dixie, I'm glad Marble loves her home. She's so cute. Dixie, she's so cute. You know. In my mind, the intro for the chop was going to be Marble. You know, I had different sketch with Marble. The problem is that in order to make the sketch with a mouse, you either have to teach the mouse how to do all these kind of tricks, which I refuse to do it, because, you know, she's not a slave, you know, she doesn't have to perform for the channel, which leaves the only other possible options, that I have to film her whenever she does anything and hope that she does something that I can use, and I never managed to do that. So in the beginning, you know, in the first episode of the Chop, the idea was having Marble running on the wheel and singing the Chop by Manila Luzon. And then me coming inside and saying, Marble, you cannot do that. Because it's a copyright music. But I never get to do that. But she's really cute. She's really cute. I'll prepare, you know, I will do this week. Because I always say I'll show her. And then, you know, she has this new thing on the cage for so long and I never showed it. But I'll show it. I'll prepare it, I promise. I lost the chat, didn't I? Nope. Wait, I get it. 1 second, let me get a drink. I'm starting to get dry mouth. But you know, since I quit smoking, I don't have that much dry mouth anymore. This is something new. It could also be because I'm vaping less too. Well. Oh, here we go. AZZ09009. I like your username. Late to the party, but I'll watch it later. Love you. I hope you have fun. Dixie, well done on the nicotine. Please enjoy having a nicotine-free body. We'll see about that. We'll see about that. No, in all seriousness, it's a really good thing. I realize, for example, that I don't vape that much anymore because it's the nicotine. That's the addiction that you have. It's only part of it because, you know, part of the addiction is also in the gesture, the environment, and so on. But the nicotine does the most of it. So you know, it helps a lot. It helps a lot. And if anybody needs help. Hit me up on Twitter. Send me a message. I will give you everything that I have on quitting smoking and how to do it and the kind of materials that I used, how I managed it, and blah blah blah. If you are a heavy smoker and you want to try this, it really worked for me. But I tell you something: you have to put in the effort. Without the effort, you don't go anywhere. Kaio Kamada, congratulations on stopping smoking. You go, girl. Thank you. Beatrice Boccolotti, what do you think about 2 eliminations on 4? The queens who went home voted for themselves. Oh, wait a moment. It's getting late. I'm starting to see it. What do you think about 2 eliminations on the 4 queens who went home voted for themselves. What do I think about the fact that for 2 eliminations, the nominated queens voted for themselves? Okay, I got it. I think it takes guts to do that. You know, it also does for good TV, and we have to be objective. We cannot ignore that. It also makes for good TV, but I think it really takes guts to do that. Because, you know, you can gamble trying to look good by voting for yourself. But it could also backfire. Because people can start saying the opposite of you. You didn't have that fire. You gave up. You don't have the star power. And blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And these are narratives that can make real damage in the outside world. So it really becomes a matter of opinion. I think that it takes guts to have an opportunity like that and come to the point in saying, listen, I have to be objective. I was the worst. So I need to go home. So I appreciate it. When it happens, I appreciate it. Of course, I cannot help but not see the possible shady side of it, but I appreciate it. Kaio Kamada, the magic of editing. Honey, you better get into it. Dixie, I retract if you have already answered the question. I was just going to suggest Ivy. Oh, just leave it there. Come on. Don't be so... how is it said? Well, it's 2 a.m. You know what happens. You know what happens at this time in the morning. Kaio Kamada, I was rewatching season 5, and Ivy doesn't have much material to work with for a villain edit, but it may be possible. Yes, I have to judge personally, because when I tend to agree with you. But I also liked season 5 so much, so I don't mind rewatching it. Let's just be honest. It's just an excuse to rewatch it. But you also have to look at the material. What can be usable and what can be engineered to be usable. That's the whole part of it. Because you can really make a lot of magic when it comes to audio. You can really make a lot. So I have to see what's the raw material, and then judge what's going to be more convenient to make. I have to find the right balance between how convincing it can be, how hard will the work be, and in the end, which one of the 2 videos can better serve the purpose. And the purpose is leaving the person who is watching it on the other side of the screen really questioning their perception of the show. That's what I want to achieve. That's the scope of it. Because every time we get someone to stop and think about it for a moment and not take everything at face value, we are achieving a couple of different important things. First of all, they will start respecting the performers based on what they do outside of the show and not strictly inside of the show, which means that all the performers will have a better incentive to actually bring everything they have to the show and make it even more entertaining in the process. And second, they get to consume television in a more responsible way. Because, you have to enjoy it responsibly. Even though it's not absolute vodka, you still have to enjoy it responsibly. Because the job of reality TV is to convince you that something that it's not really real is real. The problem is that when you are convinced, then you want to act upon it. That's the problem with it. So if we can help people questioning it more, they will start questioning the way they act upon it. That's the point of it. Apart from the fact that it's also a way of saying, look, we have crazy editing skills. Look how good we are. Luna Honeymoon. You're a mad genius, but you better take a little easy. Your crazy creative genius idea might make you start making faces and sound like Miz Cracker. Oh my god, Luna Honeymoon, you will not believe it. You will not believe it, but you're kind of right. Because before coming on stream, I was rehearsing new voices. I was rehearsing new voices because in my mind I have a voice for Michelle Visage and I want to start doing impressions about her. And I don't know how good it's going to sound. So I was rehearsing it. So yes. But look at the bright side. You will never see me. Oh my god. I turn into Miz Crackers when dealing with the husband. Yes, I can understand that. Montana Banana, who would you cast on All Stars? Didn't I answer this already, or did I lose the chat again? Let me check again. Did I get crazy? Did I see the question? Oh, no. You asked me again, but oh, I didn't. No, I did answer. It depends if I have the freedom. Oh, you mean if I had the freedom to do it the way I like? Well, then I would definitely cast queens with different talents. The kind of talents that I want to see. Like, for example, I would absolutely get Ivy Winters. She did already 7 years ago. She already did incredible outfits. And when it comes to sewing, I absolutely want to see something like that. So I would love to see her. Then for DJing and music, I would absolutely get Jocelyn Fox. Because, you know, she's into DJing. Of course, I would love Pearl to do that, because she has a background in there as well. But the problem is Pearl would never do All Stars. It's not realistic. But then again, it's a fantasy season, so I don't know. If are we allowed to do that? Then you can put inside Willem, you can put inside Max, you can put inside Pearl, you can start putting all these queens inside. Even Bianca Del Rio, but she will never do it, you know. So someone like Bianca, who would put their image that's worth millions and millions. Bianca is probably worth tens of millions of dollars. Who would put it in the hands of these producers? I mean, you know. Kaio Kamada, I miss forgetting that Drag Race existed sometimes. But now it's impossible to forget Drag Race when we have one season after the other. Yes. Yes, I understand. It's overcrowded. It's a little bit overcrowded, which could be good. You know, it's not bad that we have more Drag Race. What I think it's bad is that the production value went down and that we are having them one after the other. Give me a little time to breathe, you know? Even for us, the creators who actually cover and you know, help creating the buzz around this, give us a little bit of a pause, you know? Because it's one season after the other. The Celebrity Drag Race was even within season 12. I mean, you know, give it 2 months to breathe. But you also have to understand one thing. They're under a big network. So big networks have time slots. What does it mean? It means that they had market research that says that something is the most profitable when published at a certain time in a certain period. And that's what they have to obey to. You know, it's not like they produce Drag Race and they say, okay, let's have season 12 after 5 months of Drag Race UK, and then we do immediately after All Stars, and then it's not how it works. There is a lot of politics behind it, and all of it is about money. So, but I understand what you mean, because I feel the same, and not just from a creative perspective, also from having a little bit of breathing moment, you know? If you have something over and over and over and over again, you start forgetting how special it is. You need not to have it for a while in order to appreciate it. Like everything, you always need an opposite or simply a comparison to really appreciate it, because if you don't have it, it's like it's not even there. It's like white noise. Fantasia, do you think it would be a Big Brother style, like them living together would be successful? Oh my god, it would be incredible. I think it would be incredible. Like, really have cameras in there 24 hours a day, not this edited shit and so on. Like, really show me what's really going on and let just them act crazy. Because, you know, queer people are some of the craziest people on earth. You know, in a good way, sometimes in a bad way, but there is no doubt about the fact that if you look about the rates of mental illnesses, you will find that queer people are on average crazier than the average population. So only that it's interesting. In a way, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing because it's not, you know, it's not a nice thing to do because it has ramifications. But you know what I wanted, the point that I wanted to make. I think it would be incredible, not for a format that would come back year after year after year, but I would do like something like a very special season of Drag Race, something that happens once and never happens again. Like a Big Brother style Drag Race next year. Then in 3 years, a survival style Drag Race. You know, it would be completely crazy, and I think it would be completely successful. But probably it won't be. I mean, who am I to know if it would be successful? I think that I would enjoy it, but then again, the things that I enjoy, it seems like, you know, we are not many that actually enjoy it. It's a strange thing, but I would like it. I would love it. I would actually love it. It's also a change, you know. It's also become a change a little bit. Luna Honeymoon. Oh, where am I? That's a good idea, Fantasia. I'd watch that. Yes, completely second that. Kayo Kamada, it could be like this. Every week, the Queen has a challenge that showcases a different side of drag, and no one goes home. And one winner and a bottom three, but no lip sync. I don't know about the no lip sync, because I like the lip sync. But then again, if you remove it and use it as one of those talent who has its own episode, then yes. Then absolutely yes. Because imagine if we have one whole episode all based around the heart of lip syncing. You know, not this rehearsing shit and scripts and so on. No, really, it's about the heart. The queens are there as representative of the heart. It's not the opposite. It would be yes, I would like it. I would like it. And Kayo continues. At the end, the fans vote the winners. Yay, impressions I love. I don't know about the fan vote because, you know, the fans tend on average, they tend to make the whole thing into a popularity contest. It's this way for everything. It's not just about Drag Race. We've seen it in any kind of competition because the average person is average in everything. So the average person will never reward talent and talent alone. The average person will always reward whatever he finds pleasurable. And sometimes what's average, it's what pleasures the most the average man, if you know what I mean with that. So yes, I do understand that the public needs to give a feedback, and I completely second that. But we should probably elaborate on how we are going to implement that in a way that doesn't deter too much by the fact that sometimes good looks and talents do not really go the same way, you know. Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to say, so you know that. Luna Honeymoon. Oh yes, practice those voices. Montana Banana. Sorry, I asked twice. You already answered. Sorry. No worries. No worries. You know, at this point, I'm burned out as well. Luna Honeymoon. Celebrity Drag Race was pointless and hard to watch. It was awful. But RuPaul needs another 60 million in his pockets, you know? I don't think he gets paid that much for a season, but for Celebrity Drag Race, I think, I don't know, 1 million and off maybe? I don't even know if Ru gets paid to actually be there, because if he is one of the producers, he might get, directly, he might have a kind of contract that it basically gets paid a share of whatever they get when they sell the product to Viacom. So I don't know about that. But if I have to calculate, if she was just, paid to be there, I would say 1 million and off for Celebrity Drag Race. And if she had a share in it, probably more. Or less if it was bundled in a package with the whole season. Like, they had this kind of contract that says, you will produce 3 seasons of Drag Race for me for this fixed price. Because, big companies have this kind of contracts that tends to protect them against the inflation of value. And I make you an example. Suppose that you have a TV show and you make a first season, okay? And I am a network and I buy it. And I'm going to pay you peanuts because you are a nobody. And you're going to pay your actors peanuts, and you're going to pay peanuts for your special effects and so on. But people like the show and it's successful. So I decide to pick it up for a second season. Okay? And I pay you more money because, you can say I will go to somewhere else. So I raise my offer and I pay you more. When the second season comes, you have more money, the show is even more successful. It's going to explode. So next time I come to you and they say, listen, I like your show, but I don't want to buy just 1 season. I'm willing to pay 3. But I will pay for each one this fixed price. Then we see. Do you agree or do you not agree? Because otherwise I pass. And if you say yes, then I have a fixed price for the next 3 seasons. And when the 3rd season come off and your show completely explodes, I don't get to have to raise the price for season 4, and nor for season 5. That's how it goes. So it's difficult to see, but it's interesting to talk about it. It's always interesting to talk about somebody else's money. Kayo Kamada, Hyvie really was a talented queen. She could sing, dance, act too. She could do that Longwood leg thing. The aerial silked. She was amazing. Oh, you mean walking on stilts? Yes. You know what? I tried that. It's harder than it looks. And the first thing that you have to learn when you walk on stilts is to learn how to fall. Because that's the imperative things. Before you learn to walk with it, you have to learn how to fall. Because if you fall badly, you could basically kill yourself. Kayo Kamada, also a very nice person. Yes, Hyvie is really sweet. She has shown that, she was in a season in which there was not much manipulation behind the characters. So we still had characters and storylines and so on. But there was not that much going on to absolutely push somebody into the box of a character, if you know what I mean. And Ivy is one of those person whose edit was really, really transparent. Apart from that incident in which they tried to make it look like she was in love with Jinx, you also see it outside of Drag Race. I mean, and she's also very patient. Don't forget that she makes outfit for Lady Bunny. You have to be patient to deal with Lady Bunny. She's senile. Luna Honeymoon. He's a producer. He gets the money. Yeah, but I didn't, for season 12, I didn't see RuPaul in the credits as a producer. That still means nothing. Because credit is not an obligation, at least not from the part of the person credited. You are not obliged to appear in the credit if you do not wish to. But people who you worked for, they should be obliged to credit you for the work that you actually did. That's how we basically found out that Mayhem was doing the makeup for Celebrity Drag Race because she was credited as makeup artist. So, you know, if I remember correctly. Kaio Kamada, on the credits, Ru is listed as a producer, not a host. Which credits are we talking about? Because I checked it, you know, I had for season 12, I had that slide with all the 44 producers. there were in different capacity. You had executive producers, head producer, producer assistant. That all in all it was 44, but RuPaul was not credited, and I think she used to be credited. That I know for sure. She used to be credited as producer, and she also mentioned more than once that she is a producer. But you know, producer it's kind of an umbrella term. What's important is what's in the contract. What does it mean that you are a producer? That you have a stake on it? That you have the right to veto some choices? That you can actually implement ideas or maybe only suggest them? You know, it can mean anything. Being stated only as a producer. It's still something to say that she's a producer and not a host, but still, you know, we have to see the kind of power that she has. But let's not forget, it's RuPaul's Drag Race, so you know that even if she didn't have the power to, for example, veto storylines, or even decide major plot lines, even if she didn't have this power, she can have it if she wants to, because it's still RuPaul's Drag Race. So, we'll see about that. Okay, guys, we reached the end of the comments. It's been strange coming back after 2 weeks. I am really not used to it anymore. Even though it's been only 2 weeks, but you know, I tend to get out of shape real quick. But I'll see you back next week. I will try to work a little bit more on the channel during this week and not be so, you know, lazy editing, you know, because I have some very interesting thing and I had also to build some things and I built them and then I didn't film and I didn't edit. So I will try to do that this week. I will see you next Sunday for next live stream. And that's about it. It's been nice. So thank you guys for joining. Thank you so much. If you like what we do, please don't forget to give it a thumb up, an upvote, because that's how YouTube gets to understand that something is interesting. So I'm sorry that I have to ask for things like this, but you know, that's basically how the whole thing works. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week. Have a nice one, everyone. Bye.